So, did you ever see the like Imperium misheard lyrics video?
Maybe, but I don't.
So it's hard. I have to work to like not hear those. This
yeah.
shit was like in 2005
I know
or
what you
some shit
mean,
like
though.
that, and it was like rare meat now. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Fuck your grandson's ass. Just like I still think about every fucking time I hear this song.
Still thinking about fucking that grandson's ass.
You know, it's like, yeah, I guess Rob does say prejudice kind of weird. It's a hard word to scream.
Sure, yeah. And he really like stretches those vowels in some weird ways sometimes. Yeah.
Matthew Lawrence Cordray.
He really rolls it around in the mouth there.
Yeah.
Behind all the teeth and under the tongue.
That's an amazing moment on the record. I fucking love that moment. I was like, shit.
Yep. Like, you must have had to go lay down after that and then come back to the next take or something.
Yeah, well, it's one of those. It's like, dude, if you just read that shit like written down, you'd be like, fuck, I'm not supposed to read that. like you feel like you stumbled onto a motherfucker's diary. Like, okay,
Right.
you try to sort some shit out. That wasn't for me. I'm sorry. I read it. I won't say anything. You won't have to say anything. Episode 31, recorded June 30th, 2022.
Get it started.
It's such a, like I should have had this stuff checked out years ago, but we've talked about this before, but I got in the habit in my 20s of just not going to the doctor.
Same.
I
mean, that just carried on from actually not being able to for so long that it just became your default opinion.
Yeah.
Default stance on things. Like, I'm not dead. Just keep going.
Yeah. Like, I'm not actively dying, so what do I need to go to the doctor for?
Like, is the pain too bad? I can't go to sleep? Okay, then we'll go to the doctor.
Right.
And that's just not a good way to be.
Yeah, it is so frustrating. I mean, I'm grateful, but it is so frustrating to me and enraging almost that now that I know what it's like now to have good insurance and how much cheaper things are now that I don't need the money. Or now that I don't need, or now that I have the money. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like now that
the care is available, it should be needed, but
right, because Allison has a good job with great insurance, and so, but I remember no, I can't go get this dental cleaning. Of course, I'm not going to do that. I'm not even in pain.
Exactly.
And now
I don't need to go get this preventative care because I'm not actively in pain from it.
And now I go and I'm like, how much owe you? And they're like, oh, nothing, or whatever. It's like, oh, it's $5 or $10. Or I go pick up prescriptions and it's like 44 cents.
Right. Just put a quarter in the gum machine there and we'll take that.
Yeah. And I mean, and like, it's the thing is that we are paying for it because it comes out of Allison's paycheck and all that sort of stuff. Like, it's not. But
it's not free.
Right. It's not
like
free.
It should be.
Exactly. Yeah. It's not, yeah. And so, but it is, it's just like, cause I just remember those like barriers that I had. I remember getting like dental work done at the fucking dental college.
Yeah.
Like
you're letting like the students.
Yes.
Like, okay, Mr. Wooten, I don't know if this is, can you open your other mouth? What? Oh, no. Yeah.
Do you ever have to do that? You ever deal with that shit?
I didn't actually. I think whenever I had my last hernia, I think I was initially.
Well, you definitely shouldn't show up to the dental college for that.
That was the wrong place. They turned me away for some reason. But I think I was going to initially go down to like UTMB in Galveston and get it done, but I ended up not doing that for some reason, and that would have been their like surgery college.
I see.
And that's what that would have been. So I don't think I've actually had to do that though. But I mean,
it was a wild experience. I'll tell you that. Yeah, it was when I was teaching at this school, this private high school that was kind of a racket, but they were good kids there. But like the social studies teacher's husband was in dental college, and he because apparently having someone to do your final exam on basically is really, really, it's a big deal because
my God.
they have to, because people don't show up. And if you don't, if you don't have someone to do the stuff on, you know what I mean? So yeah, so he was like working, he was like, okay, ask your dentist to do this, or, and like, can you get your dentist to do this before we do this, or hold off on, and it was this whole like logistics thing that went on for weeks. Right. And then he picks me up, you know what I mean? Like, it was this whole like, you're going to be there, right?
Right.
And it was just hours and hours and hours because
of like waiting primarily.
So they put the like, I don't know, and they do it like when you have like,
I've had a lot of dental work done.
Okay, I forget what it's called, but it feels like what the fuck is it called? When they pry your mouth open and then they put like the stuff around your teeth to keep it dry, to keep the
gauze
area, not gauze, but it's almost like a latex glove texture.
Oh, sure. Yeah,
you know, it has a name.
It's like they cut open a latex glove and put it around your mouth and then sort of in your mouth.
Yeah, and like around your teeth and whatnot, to like keep the sockets dry or whatever,
I guess I've never had them go that far. They usually just come in there with like the suction thing.
Okay, well,
and that's usually enough.
So
I guess.
So mouth's open. This stuff's around.
So you have this maddening like Hellraiser mouth.
Yeah, basically. And
stretchy shit around.
And he would like do a few steps and then hand me a card. And
like, how am I doing?
No. Well, yes, but
like a grade.
But not for me to fill out. For me to go and stand in line in the hallway and like do to like wait and sit down with his like professor or grader or whatever, hand them the card.
Oh no.
So that they know who they're grading, and they look in there and be like, okay, tell him to keep going. And then I go back and then he does the next step and just back and forth and back and forth.
Whoa. So like I said, I have had a lot of dental work done, and one of the biggest takeaways that I have from that is once it's going, I don't want to. I'm barely conscious. Like, give me the gas, give me all that shit, dope me up, like Novocaine, whatever you got to do. I don't want to move, and I don't. Mm-hmm. I move as little as possible. I do not want to have to get up and go anywhere to do anything other than wait.
Yeah,
that is fucked.
Yeah, I start like trying to take really deep breaths. I start trying to do math problems in my head.
Just pass the time.
Yep, I just come up with two random numbers and like try to like add them together.
Oh, these are prime. These are prime.
Yeah. Like I just to like quell because I had a really traumatic experience with a dentist when I was like 12 years old or whatever, and it's actually sort of related to our topic of the past bit. It's one of it's the reason I like would always skip that second to last track on The More Things Change, like the one that starts off with the drill or whatever.
Yeah.
Because like I was getting like a filling done or something, and I wasn't numb all the way. And this dude wasn't like a kid's dentist or whatever. I don't know what the situation was. And I didn't do a good job advocating for myself.
Right. Because there are times when something happens when they just don't give you enough, or they don't put it maybe in the right spot. I don't really know if that's a thing. Happens. But you got to be like, hey, dude, I can feel this shit.
Yeah.
Because that absolutely can happen.
Yeah. Like now that I'm an adult, if I feel anything, I demonstrably wince.
Yeah.
Or you could feel that? Oh, yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, man. Well, this is
open up. You want to see what it's like?
I'll give you another one, give you another one of those weird dentist shots, But yeah, so he gets done. Like, I was in so much pain, I was hallucinating. Okay? Like, I was seeing shit. I was seeing, like, patterns and stuff. Like,
I feel like I do that every time, but it's not from pain.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
And then like we get done, and he's like, he like looks at me, and I have like tears going down. He's like, wait, you could feel that? I was like, yeah. He's like, why didn't you say anything? I was like, this could be a tagline for Richard's entire life. I look at him and say, I thought it was supposed to hurt that much.
Oh no. Oh.
Or hurt that bad or whatever, and it's like, oh yeah.
Just thought that was part of the process.
Yeah, what do you mean? I thought I was supposed to cripple myself by by playing this instrument. What do you mean? Wow. So it.
That's bad, man. That's rough.
Yeah, so I just didn't go. I just avoided going to the dentist at all costs for like 15 years, and then I had to go to the dentist all the time.
Same.
Because that's how that shit goes.
Big fucking same.
I really lucked out and found a really really awesome dentist on the west side when I was living out there. So
yeah, cool.
But yeah, that experience of being at the dental college was just
that's bonkers.
Just
dude. I don't know.
Walking around like fucking Chatterbox from Hellraiser too.
Yeah, exactly.
And
was the like latex shit still over your mouth?
Yeah, it was like
it was just yeah.
So it just
oh man.
Oh. You know, I don't remember what I just blocked it out of my mind. It's like I just imagine like, oh, he's gonna have to redo that one. You know.
Oh, I see you're here getting the thing. Oh, that one looks pretty good. That one look. Oh, still working on that one, huh? Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'll see you in a minute.
Yeah.
Oh, you drooled on the card there a little bit. Sorry.
Yeah, it was wacky.
That's bananas. Yeah.
Yeah. So doctors and shit.
I remember like when I got I had a sty removed from my eye.
Oh yeah, like 30 minutes ago, like on the way here.
It was like 2 weeks ago. Well, I mean, maybe it could have been. I don't know. I forget. But I was like, so you're gonna do one and then have to like come back to do the other one? And they were like, well, yeah, because you're gonna have like an eye patch on and you can't have
two
both patches, like the arms are there, you know.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, sure. But when he gave me a little shot of lidocaine.
Oh, okay.
To numb the area here, and it went like in the sort of the little fatty area right here, you know, the little puffy area. And he was like, he said it a few times beforehand, like as he was going through all the steps he was gonna take once we got to the thing. He was like, all right, I'm gonna give you a little shot of numbing. It's gonna sting. Don't worry, it's gonna sting. And he kept coming back to that. I was like, okay, well, it can't be that bad. I've had a billion shots like in my mouth because dentist stuff.
Right.
You know, whatever, never a problem. And he was like, all right, here we go. And he's like, and it just felt like, oh, I was like, oh shit, just winching. It was like actually pretty bad.
He was like,
yep, I know, man, it sucks. Hold on. So it's way worse than I expected it to be, but
man,
and going back for the next one, 2 weeks.
Oh, that's exciting.
Can't wait.
I sometimes I've almost passed out from like when people draw my blood.
Damn.
Not because like needles freak me out or whatever, but just because like I don't know, I just like tense up and I don't realize I'm tensing up. You know, like I just kind of like forget to breathe.
Right.
Almost, you know.
Like you don't want to move lest they like move the needle around or something like
I'm not. It's not. I'm just. That's nothing conscious.
Nothing conscious.
It's nothing conscious. Like I'm just like, oh, just be still and just breathe. Is what I think, and then like my body goes, I'm sorry, what?
30 minutes later.
Like I had this like really weird. Like I don't know. There was something that like Allison was. I don't know if she was. What was she doing? I don't know. But like I almost passed out in the kitchen.
That she was doing to you.
Yeah, like here. I don't. I had this like really weird bite or this like really weird infection here, like on my wrist years and years ago, and I think she tried to drain it, which was the wrong move. Oof. But yeah, like I almost passed out because I was just like trying to like, okay, let's get through this.
Right. It's more like the thing you're just like trying to steel yourself to just wait it out.
Right.
Because you know the shit's coming and you don't want to have to deal with it any longer than you have to. So like, just go. Just get it over with.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah. I'm not, you know, so it's kind of it's a silly situation.
The weird thing that I have when I get blood drawn is it never really affects me, I don't think. But I always get the sensation of just something leaving my body. Like, okay. It always seems, the sense I get is always that it's way more than it is, you know?
Oh, okay.
But I don't feel it or anything. It's just a weird mental thing.
Or like like if you see it and like someone who like when they like get it like really in there and they just like flick the thing and it goes, you know? Like the thing like fills up instantly and you're like, whoa. Like, okay, we just need to get 2 more. Do you?
That wasn't enough? Like, oh, vampire?
I'm not really worried about the amount. I'm worried about the rate.
Yeah. Am I replenishing this fast enough? I don't know.
So,
jeez.
Yeah, I remember whenever I got committed, whenever I got put in the mental hospital, they like took my like 3 days in a row. I feel like, sorry, my pants are dragging on this thing down here. It felt like 3 days in a row I was just having a lot of blood drawn, and because at each they like shuffle you from to a few institutions is usually how it works.
Okay.
Like I got picked up. This was in like 2008. I got picked up in Liberty, and the way that works is they actually issue an arrest warrant for you.
Oh wow.
So I'm like in the back of a cop car, like a van or whatever,
Right.
and they take me to Kingwood, to a facility there, and then and so they do all the stuff there, and then like a day later,
Transfer you.
They transfer me up to Rusk, and then they do it all again up there.
Oh man.
You know, it was
on top of everything else, enjoy this shit.
it was so bizarre. It's so bizarre, so stupid.
Yeesh.
So, but yeah, it was like, and they just come grab you, and they're just like, all right, we're gonna go do this. You're like, oh, okay. What am I gonna say? If I say no too hard, you're gonna just keep me here longer because I'm crazy. If I say yes to, that's the weird thing. Like that's the main thing I can kind of being in a state-run mental hospital for low level. If you're mostly functional, it's a test more than it is anything. You're not really getting help, but it's a test. Is because what you end up training yourself to do, like I saw crazy shit, and you just train yourself to just not react because you don't want to get too happy, you don't want to get too upset, you don't want to get too emotional, you don't want to get to anything,
right?
Because you don't want on your once a week evaluation where you go and you sit at a table, you sit at like the foot of a table, and there's like nurses and like therapy, like psychologists or social workers, psychiatrists, NPs, and like the lead, you know what I mean? Like there's just all like these
watching
people
your every move,
just and they're like, so what kind of employment are you gonna have when you get, you know what I mean? Like just, you don't want them to be like, so we see here on Wednesday that you got particularly upset at something that James said to you. Would you like to tell us about that? You don't want to be in that. Well, I think we're going to keep you just an extra week. Like that's, you don't.
Yeah.
So you see people start like trying to kill each other in front of you, and you're like, some crazy bitch snuck into my room in the middle of the night. Have I told you this story?
I think you did.
Like, I already think I'm crazy, and I look up, and there's like this. It's a silhouette, right? Because the lights are off except for the hallway lights. It's a silhouette of like this woman with like long hair. It looks like it's dirty, like it's wet,
right?
Like like she was in the rain or something. And then she like just walks slowly into my room, like floats in, and there's a mirror at the foot of my bed, and then she stands like in front of the mirror, and starts doing this. Like, I'm right here.
Jesus Christ.
I'm laying down right here. Okay. I've never seen this person before. She's not like one of the normal people.
Right. But she had a reflection.
I couldn't see that.
Oh God.
Because this is my bed, like here. And the mirror is at the foot of the bed,
I see,
facing like perpendicular, right? And so since she's standing in front of the mirror and she's like running her fingers through her hair, I don't know how long this went on. It might have been like 10 seconds. It might have been 10 minutes.
Felt like 10 years.
It might have been 30. I don't know.
Right.
And then she turns around and just kind of floats on out, And I was like, well, not gonna tell anyone about that.
Yeah. Not gonna get too worked up, I guess.
And then the next morning, I see like, oh, you're some crazy weird gypsy lady that was admitted here in the middle of the night. Okay.
Oh.
Rock on.
Just wrong room.
Nice to meet you.
Sorry.
No, she's walking around. They put her in her room, and she was like, "Fuck this! I'm gonna go walk around." Because you can't like lock the door because they don't want you to like kill your roommate.
Okay. Yeah.
Or assault your roommate or whatever. But that just means you can just walk up and down the hall and get other people, I guess.
Yeah, there's not a great solution to that, I don't think.
Yeah. I will say this though, I didn't meet any there weren't any. It's just a weird institution. Like I didn't run into any, like there was no one there that treated me poorly. If that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like there was no like, oh, mean nurses and shitty orderlies and shit like that.
Yeah, never mind. I was gonna make a stupid reference if I can't remember what it is. Anyway, I get you.
Yeah, like it's
Yeah.
It's good people doing the best they could with that weird job they had at, in Rust, Texas.
Right.
You know what I mean? But the funny one is in Rust, it's right next to a prison. So one of the first things they tell you when you get there is like, all right, don't run.
Oh fuck yeah.
Because they'll shoot you. They'll think you broke free from the prison and they'll shoot you. So don't run.
Boy.
Those banana sandwiches.
Well, I wonder if they did that on purpose. Just as an extra measure of deterrent.
I don't know. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah.
It's just a funny thing. It's a thing. I don't know.
Dude,
so,
yeah.
Do you have anything else you want to throw out?
I don't think so.
I guess the preambles can get shorter whenever we don't wait 3 weeks.
Yes.
In between.
Exactly.
So
I mean, barring the obvious, just further misadventures of American politics driving us into the ground, but
Yes, and that all that's terrible and shitty.
It is.
And it continues to be terrible and shitty. And it'll continue to be terrible and shitty until they come and arrest us. you know?
I guess so.
I don't, it's, I don't know.
Or until we secede.
I don't want to hang out with the people who are fucking running Texas.
No.
You fucking kidding me?
I don't want to go to Abbott's parties on Friday night.
I
don't even like the ones on Saturday night.
I definitely don't want to do that.
Jesus.
Yeah, I don't really have anything like, I don't know that I have anything constructive to say. I mean, how can you be constructive whenever the Supreme Court seems to be actively destroying? There's not really anything positive to say,
Yeah.
I did end up thinking quite a bit about the things that we talked about after we stopped recording, and just sort of thinking about like sort of this how something like Facebook has, even aside from their policies, okay, and the way that the algorithm treats content and what it pushes and how it pushes for engagement and how it doesn't do anything to mitigate groups and how it rolls out the platform into areas where they don't even have the terms, like the user agreement terms in the language for where they're putting it, and and how it allows for people to do terrible things and all that sort of stuff. Even aside from all that, just thinking about how it affects me personally, right? And like that idea that like there's people that I've never gotten along with and would have never really, really gotten along with if I had to spend an extended amount of period of time with them.
Like in real life.
In real life.
In person.
In real life. Like, I'm totally fine. Okay, cool, man. Yeah, I'm playing drums at your church. And yeah, man, we're playing music together. It's cool. Oh, cool. We're hanging out. We're having lunch together. All right, cool, man. All right, see you later. And I can play nice. I can let weird things slide, or we don't have to get too in depth on anything. It's all good. Or someone you go to high school with or whatever. And it's like, but the nature of Facebook and the way you're interacting, it's almost like you're locked in a room. Locked is a strong word, but it's like you're like stuck in a room having to almost being forced to have a conversation with someone that you would never do this stuff in real life. If you saw them in real life, You'd be like, hey, man, I haven't seen you in 15 years, dude. How are you doing? Nice to see you. Oh, how are the kids? Da, da, da. Okay, cool. But yeah, man. Yeah, dude, next time you're in town, man, hit me up, man. Here's my number. Blah, 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 blah. All right, see ya. And then you never talk to that person again.
Right.
And it'd be fine.
Yeah, in real life interactions, there's that built-in break time where you go live the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Whereas on social media, it's just there forever. If you want to be there.
Right.
If you have the energy to be angry or whatever emotion you're feeling, just anger tends to be one of the primary driving forces behind that sort of thing.
Right. And now that the culture war and everything has like gotten so escalated, like I can't even I feel like I can barely express thoughts that I have. That I legit like that's a legitimate thought, legitimate feeling I have. And it's like, oh well, you know, some friend of yours from high school's step brother's wife has a problem with this, but you hung out with him once and it was cool. So, and the thing is, I don't know, I'm spinning my wheels a little bit, but it's just the fact that this is a better example. The people that I played in church with, that I did church gigs with, they never needed to know that, I didn't believe in God. And that I thought that their institution was inherently toxic. I still thought that at the time, what they were doing was a net good. And I had friends there and they needed a drummer. So
Sure.
I'm happy to be there because I think music is important. I think music is sacred. And if people are finding a positive meaning, I'm not going to shit on people doing good things. You know, whether those are the good things that I want to do. If it means something good to you, fine, oh, cool. And I love doing music. I'm happy to help. Boom.
Right.
And so... But like the way that things have escalated, you know, domestically and whatnot, it makes it to where like now that person has to know that I don't believe in God, and that's going to really upset them. And so, you know, where it's like, yeah, we just shouldn't be that close. You know, we just shouldn't be that close.
Yeah, there's no, I mean, specifically like on Facebook, there's you're somebody's friend or you're not.
Right.
It's a very, like it is a binary decision, but it's more like you're either in this group where you see everything that I do, or you're not.
Right.
And you kind of can't really do much about that. Like it's a really limiting. It's a really, it's not how people interact.
Right.
Or have traditionally interacted.
Because you're not the same around everyone you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's almost
you don't share everything with
right, you don't.
Everyone.
Right.
You just don't.
And for the longest time, that put me in this position where I just didn't share anything because I was like, well, I need these gigs. I need this job. So I can't let anyone know what I actually think about anything. And
I thought you meant just on Facebook, but yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah, right. Like, and so you know, it's, but yeah, like you're not supposed. And then I don't know. I was just sort of thinking about like, if you don't know. Like if your crazy racist uncle that we all have, I don't know, do you have one?
None of the ones I can think
of.
What
the fuck, dude?
There's one somewhere.
You're the weirdest person I know. Yeah, everyone has a weird racist uncle.
No, my uncles are pretty cool.
I guess so.
Luckily,
well, your dad's pretty cool. So, but it's like, if your racist uncle never like took you to the side and told you all the crazy racist shit, then you wouldn't know, and you just think he's just your cool uncle, you know. But if you're friends with him on Facebook, you're gonna know all that. You're gonna know the craziest shit that he thinks.
Yeah,
and it's.
I mean, another big thing is you're going to see all of the opinions that they enjoy consuming,
right,
or experiencing that they maybe can't articulate themselves, or don't have the, you know,
right.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like it creates like this escalation, you know. I mean, and I guess like the problem is that me existing and having views that are different from theirs triggers them. Like that escalates them, you know? And so it's like, I don't know, man. I haven't like I haven't faithfully believed in God in fucking, how old am I? 38? So what, like 38 years? No. like 30 years. I mean, I was young when I was done with that stuff, you know? And it's it's like, but so I don't know, man. I don't really have my thoughts organized on this. It's just I don't want to just spin my wheels, but it's, I don't know. And it just bugs me. And it because I because I want to be like, I thought this at this time, this minority group, and I ignored this minority group. They were right. I feel differently now. I want to be able to say that, without losing friends. But I can't. I can't say that without losing friends. And maybe I've just been like so adjacent to just so many, like just toxic ass spaces between like the people I've played music with in different scenarios, between like the martial arts communities I've been. I don't know, man. It's just, I just know a lot of real.
I mean, I feel like a lot of people do. I feel like those people are everywhere.
Right.
But you don't always experience them in that way, and vice versa.
Right. Like I almost want to tell you some of the crazy, because like
it's like when you come home to your partner or whatever, and you're like, you fucking never believe what this motherfucker talked about today, and they're like, yeah, I mean, that's ridiculous, and you're like, well, I only have to see him once a month anyway.
Right.
And so you can deal with that.
Right. Yeah. Like someone was telling me about like, like, and I was thinking that like, man, remember when that was like just nice, when just once in a while you'd run into that crazy dude, just that one crazy dude you knew, who
sometimes they show up on your doorstep,
who just like keeps writing the same song over and over again and keeps trying to play the same different people to play the really just the same song. It's all the same idea, just over and over again, you know? And then he has all these ideas about what he wants to be and all this sort of stuff. Don't you, man? Wow. And then he's gone for 6 months. And then you're like, hey.
I remember when you were doing that. You still doing that crazy stuff? All right, man.
Oh, cool, man. Do you.
Enjoy. Don't hurt anybody, but have fun.
Right. And then like, now, you know, and then now you know, he's like, well, you won't need an abortion if you weren't such a fucking slut.
Yeah, I was going to say,
you know, and now you know that about him. So just fuck it. I don't even care.
That's where we're at.
So this is some bullshit that ended up in my DMs from someone who used to be a friend of mine.
Okay.
I just kind of want. Truth is, and this is after a long exchange.
This is you?
No, this is not me. This is what someone said to me.
Okay.
Truth is, and I'll leave it at this: you're a soy boy and a coward. You treat people horribly, but then manipulate others so you maintain your elitist, virtuous self-posturing. Yeah. And then I'm a cuck. Also call me a cuck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course.
And all those types of things.
I mean, you already hit soy boy, so we may as well go down the list.
You might as well say that, yeah.
Bust out the dictionary.
And it was... And like... This is... It's just a wacky time, man. It's a wacky time.
Yeah, I mean, you're saying you don't have your thoughts fully formed. Like this is stuff that I think about all the time, because I'm pretty fucking online. Like I'm online a lot.
Right.
Not just for my job,
but you don't like. I feel like you're online in a healthy way.
Debatable. I just stay away from the shittiest areas and don't engage with them in the ways that make you feel terrible. Which is for better and worse, I think.
Disciplined in the way that you're online.
Yes, we'll go with that. So I experience a lot of that stuff, but like, shit, I've lost my train of thought.
Well, you don't like poke your head out, is how it sort of feels. You know what I mean? Like you're like, you see these things happening, and it's always been sort of my read on it.
Yeah, I feel like by and large, there aren't many people in my life that I feel like need my input on a lot of those sorts of things. And the ones that do, we will talk, and that's fine. But fucking, Joe from high school that I never see, every 5 years, but he isn't, like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Random people on Twitter don't need to know what I like. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I've just never had that inclination to put. You can say it's on the one hand, you can say I'm just not putting myself out there for whatever reason. Maybe I'm scared to do it. Maybe I don't have a good opinion.
That's not what I would say.
One could say that, right? But I would just say that I just don't feel the need to do that with everything.
That's healthy.
On the one hand, I feel bad because it is important to stand up for the things that you feel should be talked about.
Right.
So there is that aspect to it, which is regrettable to me.
Right.
But
and that was what escalated to the deterioration of one of these friendships, was because basically me putting my foot down and being like, no, it's okay for, like, basically, no, stay out of this one. You're a hypocrite. It's okay for people to be mad about this. And that's a thing that I think about, is like that people are trying to go around and diminish what people are allowed to be angry about. You're not really angry about this. This is just the Dems. This is just the Dems. And then they point to, like, see, here's the thing where the Democratic Party did a bad thing. So I ain't fucking talking about the Democratic Party. I'm talking about people. And I'm talking about someone that this affects more than it affects me, and this is how they feel.
Yeah.
And that apparently triggers the shit out of you. Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know. It worries me. It's bullshit. And then it's like, it's not even like a gotcha anymore. It's just sort of being like, oh yeah, you're a hypocrite. You're full of shit. You say, oh, blah, blah, blah. They shouldn't be angry. It's like, dude, we're watching hearings right now about what conservative people do when they're angry.
Yes.
And you're saying this woman shouldn't send out a tweet whenever it says that that's federally mandated to have forced birth. And her anger is not justified. Her anger is not righteous. But if you're a fucking white dude that's mad that Trump didn't get reelected, that anger is justified so much that you can storm the Capitol and kill a police officer with your fucking hands, because they did. Like,
yeah,
who's allowed to be angry, right?
Yeah,
and
that has become a whole issue unto itself.
Yeah, if you don't want to listen to this, check this timestamps. You know what the fuck we do here. Yeah, and I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe,
I mean, like you said, after we talked last time, after we were done recording, my stance on that is like, fuck those people. And I got no problem with that.
I don't know what the fuck happened to me. Like, whenever, I don't know when it happened. What switch flipped at some point where I felt like it was my job to get along with everyone. Because I didn't feel like that in high school.
Right.
Like, and you know what I mean? And I didn't, I don't really know. Like, I don't know. Because I felt like my 20s were sort of me making myself vulnerable to okay, man, well, church isn't bad in the way that I thought it was. Okay, cool. These people are right, man. They're doing their, these are just this isn't about separation and people being less than and hatred. This is about people trying to be better husbands and fathers and da 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 da. And so I just kept trying to oh yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
So keep an open mind about that sort of thing.
Right.
As much as you can.
And always give people the benefit of the doubt. Yes. Always give people compassion. Always, and all this sort of stuff. And
the thing that a decent person would do, a person who actually cares.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And always okay, well, where are they coming from? And always well, yeah, they say those fucked up things, but they also do this, and I think this is a net good, and blah 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 blah.
Yeah. I mean, you can reason about that.
Right.
There's you can look at you can look at where maybe they're coming from on some things.
Right. And like, this is the thing too, is it's all these people that I'm catching all this shit from. I didn't seek these motherfuckers out. Like, they just sent me a friend request I just didn't deny at some point in the past 10 years.
Right. That's what I was,
You know?
That's what I was getting at earlier. If there was like an acquaintance level, you
No,
know?
like, I wasn't like going through there and been like, oh yeah, man. I haven't seen that guy since 7th grade when he quit football. Ad. Like, no, man. Like, it's like if we went to high school together and we didn't talk, like, and if I like remember talking to you my freshman year and I don't remember talking to you my senior year, this probably we shouldn't be friends. And that's okay. It doesn't mean we're better than each other. It's just like, you know, just you're over there, I'm over there. That's fine.
Doesn't mean I hate
fine.
you.
Exactly.
I just don't know you.
Exactly. It's just we shouldn't be in that space where you know exactly what line of Kenobi I thought was awesome, or you thought, you know, or like I don't need to share that with you. That's not for you. You know.
That's for my wife. That's my wife's information only.
Right. That's like, if I'm like, see, see how they took that and that really tied into this. You see that choreography right there? That mirrors this choreography. You know, like that ain't for you.
That's personal.
I don't even. Fuck you, man.
You don't need to know my thoughts on Darth Vader showing back up.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
You know, I don't know, and it's like the thing. I don't know if I had to like say whatever. I don't know what the healthy way to do it is, but I know that it hasn't been done.
It ain't this.
I haven't done it. It hasn't been done. This system that we have, not just the way that we interact on social media, you know, and this like kind of marketplace of ideas. Turns out, marketplace, free market, this, blah, 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 blah. That's probably a good idea to figure out, like, I don't know, like, what's the most comfortable pair of shoes or something. But it's a terrible way to figure out what ideas are good. So,
yeah, it turns out that isn't applicable to every aspect of modern life.
Right. Yeah. It turns out free market capitalism shouldn't be a religion. Yeah. Turns out. Yeah. Because like this idea of that, well, I'm going to keep clicking on ideologies and scrolling through things and scrolling through influences until I find the one that makes me feel the best. Like, that's not learning. That's not science. That's not, well, what actually works, what actually doesn't, blah, 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 blah. And then you end up getting stuck down a rabbit hole of like some neurotic dude who's figured out how to make his own life work and extrapolates that out. And like, this is how all lives should work. You know, that galaxy brain connected bullshit.
Or you just do the scrolling and the clicking long enough to where you just don't feel anything after a while, and then the minute you do, no matter what it is, no matter how terrible it is, you go, oh shit, I felt something there. That's what I want.
I haven't thought about it like that.
That's I'm pretty sure that's part of it. But it takes all kinds, actually, it turns out.
But the way that we interact socially online and the way that creates political movements and the way that we interact with our governments, our government specifically, it's been made very clear the past 2 years, you know, or whatever, that is woefully inept at solving actual problems. And I don't think it's going to get better at solving those problems. Nah, I wish I could backtrack that. Like, I don't want to say it because that sounds like I think I know more than I think I know. I'll just leave it at that.
Well, you can go back to where it was like, what we have now ain't it?
Yeah,
I think is a good way
it's clearly not working, right? It's because you shouldn't, like, the way, like, what shifts the needle on how people handle a pandemic shouldn't be what a single person who has no qualifications says.
Yep.
Right? Like, it just should, you know.
That's where I'm coming from.
And that's how it is. That's what happened. It's like, oh, he didn't even get the popular vote. He has Okay, fine. He's a shitty businessman. There's lots of, if you care about businessmen, there's lots of better businessmen. Whatever. And if he would have said on the front end, hey, wear masks, more people would have worn masks and taken it seriously. You know what I mean? And less people would have died.
Yeah.
But
not an expert at anything but being arrogant.
Yeah.
There you go. The number of times I mentioned last time that I've been watching these January 6th hearings.
Yeah.
The number of times that they just reference a tweet is fucking mind-boggling, because they just have to talk about that shit in a congressional hearing
about a supposed insurrection, like
like
a coup attempt, and
it's been wild to watch that stuff, dude. It's on the one hand, it's been incredibly impressively modernized in a weird way.
Mm-hmm.
They've done a great job at like actually presenting things in a like an unfolding story format across the many different hearings.
Yeah,
and they're gonna be doing this for like months. So I think it's been pretty effective, all things considered. Who is watching it is maybe another question, but probably not the people who should be watching it.
Right.
But it's been pretty wild. It's just strangely of our time. It's so like painfully of our time in a lot of ways.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I applaud you having the bandwidth to engage with it.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I do sort of find, because I don't want to just engage in that. Like, that's the thing. That's the thing that, like, really, if I have a moment of stillness and it really like bothers me, like if I have like some deep self-doubt and reflection, it's like, am I just engaged? Like, it's like our, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I guess like I basically worry that I'm doing the thing that people accuse liberals of doing, and that's like, oh man, you're just chasing spectacle and outrage and this, or like, you know what I mean? And it's like, and then you have to stop and you have to remind yourself, like, no, like things are actually happening. Things are actually happening that are actually bad. Just because we've been the frog in the boiling pot,
Yeah.
Because
the point that keeps coming up during all these hearings from watching reactions online, especially, but just also in my own mind, is like, dude, if this was Watergate, this would have been over fucking years ago.
Right.
This is for so long we've been so far beyond the pale.
Right.
That it nothing makes, there's no frame of reference anymore.
Right. Because whenever
how stupid this shit is.
Exactly. Yeah. Cause dude, you can't. Yeah. When you can't agree on what's real and what are facts and what aren't facts. The speed of light is fucking variable from your reference frame. Okay?
No, somebody disagrees. Somebody disagrees and they'll let you know and they'll get people to agree with you.
But even just like in the laws of physics, you know what I mean? Like, velocities are variable from, you know what I mean? Well, the speed of light isn't, but whatever. That's not, you understand what I'm saying. You have to have an agreed upon reference frame. And whenever we can't do that as a society with each other,
that's actually what it looks like when things start breaking down.
And I don't know where those, and it's like, I don't know how long, like, what's that breakdown? It fucks me up to think about it as a parent of like, what am I, like, do I need to start training him to shoot a gun? Do I need to start training him to garden? Do I need to start training him how to move to another country? Like, do we need to learn a new language? What, you know what I mean?
Right.
Or it's like, or is this?
Is it overreacting?
Yeah. Or do we just need to go to a different state? And, or is this going to be?
Or is it going to be okay?
Right. Is it going to somehow be okay?
Yeah. I don't think it is, but
and so
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I feel like I gotta stop. At some point, I'll get to where I just unapologetically talk about this shit.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Like, I want to talk about it in this platform because I think it's I think it's responsible to let people know what you think and what you care about, even if that's not the priority of your show.
Yeah.
Or the priority of what you're doing, you know? And yeah, I know that would I know that it would be a lot easier for me to find an audience if I didn't do any of that shit and if I just we had like the same camera angle and the same this or in the same this, and we just all right, machine head retrospective, blah. Like, I know that would be so much easier to get to find people, but
maybe
that's
I don't know. Whenever I go looking for stuff, when I just come across let's talk about a thing, sort of inconsequential, I was like, I just saw that 10 more times. I want something that's gonna. I would find this more interesting, I guess is what I'm saying, which is one of the reasons I don't have a problem.
I appreciate.
So hopefully there are people who feel the same way, I guess is what I'm saying.
I don't know, man. I just have somehow with this particular. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what it is. I've just been I get so anxious, whenever I talk about things like this in a weird way, and it ends up channeling into anger. That's the only way I can navigate it is if I get angry about it, then I can kind of all right.
It's kind of like the thing earlier where you just brace yourself for the medical procedure. You just fucking anger your way through it.
Yeah.
Really.
Let me rage my way.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know, but I went into deer, because I was talking about playing in churches and all that sort of stuff. Now I don't play in churches anymore. They call me. I say no, because
they still call you.
Yeah, I still get calls, and I say no because I do not want to be a part of those institutions. The ones that I was playing with. I'm not saying all churches are bad or all churches are equally bad or whatever, but some of the ones that I was a part of, definitely creating safe space for, theocracy, Christian fascism. I guarantee you, the majority of those congregations had a real good Sunday this past Sunday. The most of the people there were happy.
Right.
And that's the thing, man. They don't actually care. And they don't even care about the members of their congregation, right? Because the members of their congregation get into trouble, and that trouble hurts the optics of the church, they will throw you the fuck away. They don't have your back. It's all about power.
Right.
And so, I don't know. I'm hypercritical of that stuff because I'm hypercritical of things that I fell for. And I fell for that shit at one point. It was a few years where I considered myself a Christian. I tried really hard, to be that. And, but no, man, it's all about, those things are all about, if it could be, they could absolutely have their way. It's about white male supremacy, but they'll settle for male supremacy. But it's it ain't about love. It ain't about, it's patriarchy. It's patriarchy with I don't know. They try to they try to this is the ultimate patriarchy. Jesus is the King of Kings, right? And anyway, fuck all those people. Fuck all of them for not understanding that they don't actually care about what the things that they say they care about, that all they really care about is power. And I'm sure that some of them, I'm sure that some people are just doing the best with the tools that they have. But if all your tools are doing is hurting other people, then you fucking stop using them.
Yeah. That's a good way to say it. Yeah.
So, and if you don't see the harm that they're causing, then I don't know, man. Fuck you. I'll tell you.
Or if you won't listen to people when they tell you, "Hey, this is causing
hurting,"
harm.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Fuck you. Pay your taxes. Fuck you. But yeah. So anyway,
or prepare to get federally funded. However it goes,
Right. Like, yeah. My mind goes to real. When I saw that, my mind started going to real dark places that I'm not gonna throw out here right now.
Save that for next time.
Yeah. Well, reread some Octavia Butler, and we'll go hard. Okay, man. So let's get fun now.
So, it's June 30th. Machine Head rolls on.
Yeah. Well, man. Hey,
these are long. These are pretty long albums.
Yeah, we do what we do, and we don't do it in any way that makes necessary sense, but we do it. Okay, cool. So before we start talking about the albums, I wanted to kind of riff on nu metal a little more.
Okay.
The first thing I wanted to correct is that the joke should have been when I talked about like, well, what killed nu metal, and I said like if you had to say it, boil it down to Slipknot and Eminem, right?
Right.
Because once you've heard like, enemy, show me. I don't remember what I said, but what the joke should have been was, once I heard, enemy, show me what you want. I'm not going to go back to ba with to ba. Like, that's what the joke should have been.
Yeah.
Not whatever I put in there.
Just go edit. You got plenty of time to edit it.
I ain't doing that. I'll have to go to the doctor again if I spend that time doing that. But I sort of did think of like another factor in that, which is sort of once, basically the internet, right? And then once you are able to explore all the music and you're able to, go and scroll through eMusic and download all these albums, even if it takes you a day or whatever.
And it would sometimes.
That's still access to 10 times, for some people 100 times more music than you were getting to access by, for us, like driving an hour to a mall, throwing down $40 and walking away with 2 CDs that you've never heard before, right?
Totally.
Because you read a review about them. So
you needed to know how to hack that system though, because what Best Buy did for a while, if you remember this, you could go in there at the Best Buy in Humble. Anyway, you walk in there and there was like the first side of the first aisle had all the new shit on it or the shit on sale.
Yeah,
that's what it was. But a lot of times they would put new things on sale. So like CD would normally be like $17, maybe like $10.
Sure.
And that's when you go stock up.
For sure.
You take a chance on shit you don't know about. And so I remember I would go there all the time. Got a lot of CDs that way. But I specifically remember going there with Justin Weinman and a few of them, maybe somebody else.
Future friend of the pod.
He'll be here eventually. And I want to talk to him about this album too. Is we went in there to get something. Maybe I was getting like Down with the Sickness or something like that. Or The Sickness, I guess, is the album name. And he was like, I want to get something too. I don't know what I wanted. Like, I don't know any of the stuff though. And I was like, I've heard this one song on the radio, and it kind of sounds like ska. Maybe you'd like that because you're kind of weird, It's fucking weird at the time. He was a weird dude, but he liked being weird, so it was cool.
Yeah.
I was like, you'll probably enjoy this shit. It was System of a Down. The song was Sugar, and that was all I'd ever heard of them. So it was like Sugar, it was like that. So I was like, it's kind of like ska or something. You'll probably enjoy it. And he was like, all right, I'll grab this. And then he comes back to me like a week later. He was like, you motherfucker, this is like weird metal shit. This ain't no ska. But he loved it, and he got way into it.
Oh, dude!
And then he got me way into it. So I couldn't have possibly planned that better.
Some permutation of our band in high school. We had him audition on vocals. Do you remember this? Were you there for this?
Uh-huh.
All right, and he did or
at least one time, yeah.
I think he did. It was to a System of a Down. It was a System of a Down song, I think. And he sang all the lyrics with no regard to tempo.
Yeah.
Like all of it in 15 seconds.
Oh boy.
But there was charm to it. I was like, man,
you did something there.
There's something here.
Yeah.
This is art. This is definitely art.
In some way, shape, or form.
And then PJ's over there with the kazoo.
Yes. Yep.
All
True.
things that happen. Dr. Couch, he goes by
Dr.
now.
Couch, yeah, indeed.
Um,
Esteemed professional. But yeah, so yeah, you could get CDs for cheap at some point, but that was a big way to do it. And then the other thing was talking about specifically Machine Head and Roadrunner. What Roadrunner would do in the late '90s, early 2000s is they would put up like select tracks just for download on their website.
right.
So that was where I found whatever Machine Head, whatever the song it was from the Burning Red that was at the time.
Right.
And then later on, from Through the Ashes, they put up Bite the Bullet. And that was how I found that song.
Oh, okay.
So they did that for a while, and that was a really cool way to like here's a free track.
Right.
Get into this.
I had so many like MP3s floating around because of that.
And, yeah.
And so, but there was even just that little bit that's not even close to what we have today with Spotify and whatnot, where just all the music to ever exist is a few clicks away. And
exactly.
Oh, I don't know anything about this genre. Click, click, click. Oh, cool. Now I know the 10 most important songs of that genre. And I can kind of get a feel for what makes this unique and what makes it not other things.
I can not only find out what the 10 most important songs of this genre are, I can go listen to them, and I can read a full history on why they're so important.
Right.
The people that made it, all this shit.
Right. And in 2002, 2003, 2004, that shit still would have required...
You would not have been able to find a lot of them. You would have had to find someone who thought enough to write a book about it.
Right.
Or a magazine or whatever.
Right. You were going to have to spend gas money to go and scour, your city for media.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going to Half Price Books and look for leftover Metal Maniacs or something
right.
shit like that.
Exactly.
I'm going to go to garage sales, Oh, dude, did you hear that teenager down the street killed himself and his mom's selling his stuff? Like, that was going to be your best hope. No, dude, I think he read Metal Maniacs. Yeah. You get there and you're like, God damn it, it's Hit Parader. There's nothing in here.
It's Tiger Beat. I'll take him.
But I think because of that, I think that interests in subgenres and whatnot started to get more specialized.
Today, you mean?
I think it started then. And so, whereas in 1998, if you were like an edgy kid, we kind of all listened to the same shit.
There were people who we went to school with who were like, they made it their mission to get the most stupid underground bullshit.
Yeah, I was one of them, and it was hard work. There weren't a lot of it. Like, it wasn't easy.
That's true, but there were people. I mean, I think you were finding pretty good stuff by and large, or some people were finding the worst stuff.
Well, of course.
Sometimes on purpose.
I guess what I mean is
which I also appreciated.
I guess what I mean is the average person, right? Like I'm not talking about like the weirdo like try hard that's going to that is identifying with listening to something different than other people listen to.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think I'm just like the average person. By the time you get to the 2003, 2004. They're like, well, I think I really like this. It's like a bunch of like A/B testing, right? It's like you start off here and you're like, well, I think I like that more than that. Well, I think I like that more than that. I think I like that more than that. And I think I like that more than that. And so then they're like, yeah, I really like Dashboard Confessional more than I like Modest Mouse. And then they're in that whole thing or whatever it is, I really like black metal, or I really like Dimmu Borgir more than I like Slipknot, more than I like whatever. I like death metal more than I like thrash metal. I like melodic death metal more than I like traditional death metal. I like metalcore. I like mathcore more than I like metalcore. I like, all those things start to become accessible.
Yeah.
And it's not just like I need something to go to, and well, goddamn it, Ba Went to Ba will do it for today.
Yeah. When you didn't have that access, you just sort of took what you can get. I vividly remember like the sensation of hearing songs on like the Buzz or whatever, or 106.1, which is the Beaumont station.
Right.
Sometimes played much better shit.
Oh yeah, fuck.
And being like, I need to find that, because in the sea of like mediocre stuff that I've like taped that I just listen to, just kind of deal with.
Right.
Here's something that I can actually like feel something from.
Like I remember when I heard Stabbing Westward on the radio, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
you know.
I remember like when I first heard when what was the first Godsmack single?
Oh, Go Away.
It's probably something away.
Whatever. I think
it fucking was called Whatever, wasn't it? God damn it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like when I heard that was one of those songs where I was
go
like,
away. Oh, I'm doing the best I
it was
did.
it. Yep, there you
I'm
go.
doing the best that I can.
Now go. Yeah. So when I heard that at the time, that was like,
It's a cool
it
song.
was kind of like a revelation. It was like no one was really quite doing something like that.
Yeah.
In a strange way. I was like, I need that. And so I went and bought that album. And
We used to cover Moon Baby.
we did?
We did. Well,
I did?
Maybe you didn't.
I don't think
maybe
I did.
this was before you.
I went in the Moon Baby camp over there.
That's a
Take
cool
it back
record.
to the moon, baby.
I was into them until I started seeing their songs, and I mean, I was
Army commercials.
yeah, I was okay with them. I was okay with them.
Yeah.
I had their first 2 records.
Yeah, that kind of just sealed the deal for me. Like I was very played out on them at that point.
Yeah.
Their second album just got super played out, but
There was some cool stuff on there.
there was some cool stuff on the third one too. It was just over.
That was the one where I was like,
Yeah.
Scorpion King,
Oh yeah.
you stand alone, but you stand over there.
You stand alone.
Yeah.
We are standing over here. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, so like that idea, and then also another thing was that we kind of touched on was like that nu metal was a genre that existed and like took hold in sort of the last heyday of record labels. And so there were bands that one maybe shouldn't have even been signed in the first place.
Yeah.
Two bands that got pigeonholed and trapped in a sound early on. And so thus they sort of had to maintain that sound to sort of have some success.
Right.
You know? And so, you know, a big part of Roadrunner, you know, is like, I don't think they have a good track record for like signing bands and then letting them develop and become whatever they're going to become. You kind of had to be what you were like right out of the gate, and they were going to sign like a forever album deal, not give you any merch, you know, not give you any tour support, you know, like those notoriously terrible record deals.
Like it seems like they were looking for, they had a slate of types of bands they wanted to fill.
Yeah.
And they filled those slots.
Right. And they knew what they were doing, and they were good at it. That's why, I mean, they were good. They were, but this is the thing, like when death metal wasn't hot anymore, they dumped all their fucking death metal bands.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like they, like, here's an example of them not wanting to sign like an artist and let them grow. Right. And like, well, we don't know where you're going to end up, but we're going to invest in you. They didn't sign Devin Townsend. They turned down Devin Townsend for Ocean Machine and City. Like they were like, and then, you know, and they're like, well, you know, Typo Negative's really big, you know, like they called and told him that. And Devin was like, well, you know, I have another project that sounds exactly like Typo Negative.
Well, I happen to have a Typo Negative right here.
And they're like, oh, really? Well, you should send us that. And they're like, okay. And they like gave him like their FedEx account. And he like went down to FedEx and he took a giant like photocopy of his ass and FedExed it to him. Good job, Debbie.
Good shit. Good shit, Devin.
You know, so yeah. So I think that like there was a pressure, like Roadrunner was like, okay, so you're the band that does the what? Okay, cool. You're the white guys with dreadlocks. Okay, you're the white, you know, or you're the this or you're the that. That's what you are. You know, put that box around you, and then they can market that and they could sell that, and you were going to sell something. You know what I mean? Like you were going to catch something in that net, but that's cool for a few albums. But
I mean, we'll get there.
But how do you grow past that?
We'll get there a little bit later, won't we?
You know what I mean? Like how do you evolve past that? You know? And so just more riffing on like what killed that genre.
Just the whole idea of record labels is just such a wild thing, and that it worked so long for so many bands despite itself.
Sure.
Really. It's like
Sure.
It kind of shouldn't have, but man.
So, but yeah, and I was kind of was because I was curious, and so I went through and listed a bunch of albums that came out in 2003 and 2004 to sort of like put myself in the headspace of Through the Ashes and whatnot. And,
okay, so this is just stuff that was out then, or is this stuff that you were into specifically?
Or it's stuff that whenever I was looking through it, I was like, okay, well, that's important.
Okay, yeah.
I was like, either I was into it, that's important, that's having lasting effects now, or I remember other people being really into it, even though perhaps I wasn't. Like, I wasn't into the 50 Cent record, but it was everywhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
And whatnot. And so, but so when I look through what's going on here in 2003 and 2004, sort of some things that stuck out to me as far as this changing climate, right? Like with music overall, but also sort of specifically with metal. And there's some interesting things when I look at this list. So there's new genres that seem to be becoming like more defined and have more traction, like indie rock, folk rock. You're seeing like Iron and Wine. You're seeing Modest Mouse, Shins, Franz Ferdinand, White Stripes.
Yep.
That's becoming like, oh, that's the pop sound, right?
Yep.
The pop rock, if you will, whatever sound. You're seeing more metalcore records like Atreyu, like debuting High, Avenged Sevenfold records are starting to do well around this time. Hip hop's becoming more mainstream. You have 50 Cent, you have Jay-Z, you have Kanye's first record, so these are records like Jay-Z's Black Album, you have Eminem's Encore, but like Kanye's first record, like this is a record that is still having an influence.
Yeah, and as far as like popularity goes, this was still the heyday of like TRL.
Right.
When there was like, and this was like boy bands and shit. We're still kind of, this is like the tail end of that.
That's right. Yeah.
So that was like sort of dominating the popular.
Right. Speakerbox comes out during this time.
In 2003.
Yeah.
Why do I always think that was 2004?
Yeah, it's 2003.
Damn,
I have
weird.
I have it on here somewhere.
Yeah, I saw it at the bottom.
Okay. So like hip hop culture and rap, not just like R&B, like Mariah Carey records, but like rap and whatnot it's ratcheting up and up. You know what I mean? And so now it's not just like Eminem, it's 50 Cent and Jay-Z, and not that these acts weren't popular before, but now it's crossing over into being like, oh, these are the best selling albums of the year. Like these are the biggest artists
winning Grammys and shit like that.
Right.
It's kind of a stupid, barometer, but that's the sort of thing that was happening then that wasn't happening before.
Right. And so you're also starting to see like within metal, you're starting to see like debut albums and like sort of like genre defining albums that are still relevant, laid for like subgenres and movements that are still relevant. Okay. So like Tech Death, you have like the first Spawn of Possession album that comes out in 2003. You have Necrophagist's first album that comes out in 94 or in 2004. I showed you, that was the one that you were like, tweedly, brrr, was how you described them.
Yep.
But that is the definitive Tech Death album of that time. Like people heard that album and then chased their tails for 5 years trying to replicate it. And then people spent 10 years trying to like up the ante from what people, you know what I mean? Anyway, it is an extremely relevant album to modern metal today. Black Dahlia's first album comes out during this time period.
Yeah.
Aborted, not their first album, but their first really great album, Gormageddon, comes out, and it's just this brutal fucking technical death metal album, and it's amazing. You also, another thing is that you start to have, and I feel like this is big, this is huge. It to me, it signals something really, 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 really big, which is that you have, is it on this page or the next one? So two things happened in 2004 that I think are really important and signal a lot. One is Exodus puts out a record called Tempo of the Damned in January. And so that is, like, Exodus has been on hiatus for like 7 years or something, or 6 years or something. And so they put out a brand new, amazing thrash metal record. Like, just, I mean, it's
come out of the gate and kill it.
Yeah, it's just one of the best. It's just one of the best, like, just straight up meat and potatoes thrash metal records ever made. Okay.
Cool.
And Exodus is legendary. Like, they basically defined the genre of what thrash metal is. So they put that out. They have a classic singer, you know, Zetro is doing vocals and whatnot. And then Suffocation in April, they've been on hiatus for 6 years. They put out an album with like the original drummer, you know what I mean? And it's a reunion album. Okay. So you have like a flagship old school thrash metal band, a flagship old school death metal band, both putting out their reunion albums. And both of those bands are still incredibly relevant and touring and kicking ass anywhere that there's electricity in the world today.
Right.
Okay. And so I feel like that's like an interesting thing that you see happening in this time period. Speaking of Devin, Strapping Young Lad puts out a new album. They hadn't put out a full length in 6 years.
Right.
Also, Devin had been doing other stuff, but not like not a strapping record. And then you get like Limp Bizkit's last full length before they go on hiatus.
God, yeah.
So it's like,
which one was that? Was that the green one?
Yeah. And this was an EP. This Unquestionable Truth they put out in 2005.
Oh, okay.
And so like I tried to like make note of like Billboard positions and stuff like that to sort of like, you know, get a reference for things and whatnot.
Like what's actually taking hold.
Right. And it's a little skewed because metal records and rock records just traditionally are just like, they always come out of the gate really good. Like those first weeks are really, really good for those records, you know? So but yeah, so I don't know, like it to me, it's not hard to like connect all the dots on this and sort of, or like, here's another one. Where's the Dimmu Borgir record? Yeah. Like, so Dimmu Borgir, extreme fucking album. Like Mastodon's Leviathan debuts at 139 on the Billboard 200. Like it's charting.
Yeah.
Okay. It's on fucking Relapse. Dimmu Borgir is charting. They're on Nuclear Blast. Like, these are you know what I mean? So these are clearly things that have been swelling up that are starting to, you know, peek out into the mainstream during this time period. And maybe like the biggest example of that is Lamb of God.
Yeah.
Who in 2003 put out, you know, As the Palaces Burn, and then they put out Ashes of the Wake in 2004 on Epic. You know, major label fucking debut, and that what is it? I had it down here, but 27. It's a
yeah, dude.
That is a metal fucking record, and it debuted at 27 on the Billboard charts.
I cannot believe they made those records so close together.
Right?
That's insanity.
Uh-huh.
Those are two of the best metal albums of all time.
They're up there. Yeah, and so yeah, I just think all that shit's just it's clearly like, I don't know, I can't say exactly what killed nu metal, but I know that it died sometime in this period.
Yeah,
you know, Slipknot comes out with Volume 3, which was, I feel like that was like shit was just different after that.
You know, album. I don't even. Yeah, yes, absolutely. I don't even feel like nu metal died so much as they just kind of forgot about it.
It became less relevant.
Yeah, it just kind of went like. It just kind of stopped. Maybe it was happening in some corner, but like everyone just kind of looked the other way at
there
all
was
these
just
other things.
More like you were talking about. There's just more interesting shit happening.
Yeah.
And another sort of interesting little thing that I came across was the top 20 best-selling rock and metal records of all time. Right.
Okay. Rock and metal.
Yeah. And so there's a lot of like ones you would assume.
Black Album.
Yeah, Black Album, Van Halen, Smashing Pumpkins, Melancholy. That's nice, right? But what I thought was interesting was that the most recent. I was like, all right, what are the most recent records on this, right? Like of the best-selling rock and metal records of all time, and I think this tells the story. The most recent one on this list is Nickelback in 2005.
Okay.
And then the next most recent after that is Hybrid Theory in 2000.
Wow.
And then after that, it's Creed, the Human Clay in 99, and Kid Rock in 1998.
Oh boy. Really?
Yeah.
What kind of sales are these going by?
It's just like, okay, well, let's just look at the maybe Kid Rock. I know it's in here, but it's just like if you take like all the rock / metal records, just those by themselves.
Yeah.
And well, this sold 7 million, sold 8, this sold 20, it sold 30, whatever it was, and it's just like, all right, well, what's the 20 ones that sold the most?
Oh no, I understand that. What physical sales only?
I mean, it accounts for digital as well. So, but I feel like there it is.
I'd have to look at the number because, like,
yeah, I didn't have time to
seems
cross-reference all that in a way that
seems wild to me.
Be diligent. Yeah, Kid Rock's in there. Yeah. 11 million records that one sold. But I mean, and so you could chalk this up to like, oh, record industry changing, people stop buying records, blah 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 blah.
I'm sure that's part of it,
but it I think it's also like, you know, like, I don't know, people stop, like hip hop culture became mainstream culture, you know, and like new metal, like whatever pop capability that new metal had became like dispersed throughout all these other things, or it became like codified into like radio rock, like Nickelback.
Yeah.
And whatnot.
Because I still think that, I think you're right. There's like a sea change for sure in terms of like popular taste that like persists to this day, really. But I think record labels and the way people found and purchased, or not purchased, but found and consumed music was a big part of it. Because
for sure,
look at best albums of or biggest selling albums of all time. Straight up, and it's still topped by like the Eagles and Michael Jackson and AC/DC,
right,
and Metallica and Led Zeppelin and all that shit.
Right. And it's not catching up. You know what I mean?
There hasn't been that thing. I would really like to see what, like, of the top 100 best selling, what are the most recent of those?
Well, and I almost feel like maybe there needs to be sort of some type of statistical analysis as well, because it's not really fair to compare these things to the Black Album, for instance, that continues to be relevant because Metallica as a band continues to be relevant, and that album has been out and selling for 30 years. And so you can't really, oh, well, you know, Mastodon still hasn't sold as much as Metallica. Does that mean that they're having less of an impact?
Well, I think that
as example or whatever.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is like that's a testament to like yeah, I mean not necessarily, but yeah, I don't know.
I just thought
I almost said like that's just a testament to they made better music back then, but that's absolutely not the case.
Right. I think things just got more. I think there's just a lot of things that happened. One of those things I think is that things got more diverse and more sort of spread out.
I guess like to your point earlier, like as people, we're finding more niche ways to find what they really wanted to hear.
Right.
Whereas before you had, I mean, I guess you had fewer options, but you also had fewer ways to get a full menu of what was out there.
Right.
So it's like both of those things changing sort of
there's
along the same line.
There's a lot of dials on this fucker, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think about like in the 90s where if you were a metal fan and like everyone went to the fucking Pantera show, you know what I mean? Was at least how it felt.
Yeah.
And there were like these flagship huge arena shows like every few months that everyone would go to. And now I don't go to any shows like that but there is this inexhaustible well of small to mid-level death metal, technical death metal shows that just, you know what I mean? And these bands are able to keep doing it because there's like a hardcore, niche fan base that will go there, and half of the people that go there are not just going to buy the ticket. They're going to spend $50 to $100 in merch and whatnot because this is their shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's so different than like, oh, dude, let's all go to the fucking Slipknot concert. Dude, I've seen enough Slipknot concerts. I know what it's going to be like.
Right.
But
back then it was more of an event. It was more of a special thing, I guess.
Right. And now going to see the small band in the small place that with like 200 people, and that band that you really like feels so much more special.
Yeah.
It
feels closer to like a hobby or like a lifestyle thing. These
it's
days.
a thing you identify with and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So we've gotten through, I think, 200 of like my 7,000 word essay or thing that I wrote. I don't know, man. I just find this stuff really, really interesting.
Yeah. Probably a whole other show in there.
The context, right? And so all of this is to frame that, when Machine Head puts out, Through the Ashes of Empires.
Not in America, by the way.
Not in America. It wasn't released in America. It was released in October in Europe and released 6 months later in America. So there's a really cool documentary where they talk about all that and they unpack all that.
Yeah.
Recommend that you watch it.
But boy, where they were talking about the record label woes that they were going through and how they got dropped from Roadrunner US, and then they shopped around and literally everyone was just like slamming doors in their faces.
Right.
But
radio single.
Yeah, we gotta have a radio single and a signal to broadcast the single. But to the point where like they had basically finished the album, and Roadrunner was still like, nah, dog, never mind.
Yeah.
Like, but you heard it. They finished it. You heard it, and you heard how good it was. And then they put it out, and it started doing well. And then they were like, wait.
Right.
But actually, though.
Right. Roadrunner US came in at the last minute, at the 11th hour, as they put it, you know, because they had gotten a deal with Roadrunner International to put it out. So like that is fucking unheard of. Okay. That a fucking American band has their record out in Europe for 6 months before it was released here. That is fucking insane.
Like an established, successful band that was, I mean, I guess admittedly by all accounts, like on a creative, downturn, like, but still to completely get snubbed by everybody.
Right.
Even like the smallest labels. Like when they were listing all the labels, it was like Surgical Strike. I was like, really?
I really like that they said like Disturbs.
Because no one knows who the fuck what
No
that
Name,
label is.
which was I think Mudvayne's label and shit like that. Like they're
just other like peers at the time. Other bands were like, nah.
I tell you what, when I saw that, I was like, no fucking wonder that as soon as they could stop doing touring packages, they stopped and started doing evening with. Like, no fucking wonder.
Yeah.
So
wild.
Right. And so And so I think it shows like how I think it shows like that they only wanted radio signals, like shows how like hungry every label was for like, oh, well, you're going to be the next we need the next crossover act. We need the next crossover act. We need the next crossover act. Like new metal is going to become the new rock radio, right? Is what everyone wanted. Like you're going to be the next Linkin Park. You needed that. That's another thing we haven't mentioned is Linkin Park and how influential and how much of a big deal and a big like sea change that was.
Yeah. So Meteora came out in 03.
Right, and Hybrid Theory came out in 2000.
Yeah. And Hybrid Theory was big, but the Meteora it like exploded.
Yeah, that was whenever it became like, okay, everyone. Like it's not just us cool kids.
Yeah.
It's everyone that's into this fucking band. And they deserve it. They're a great fucking band, great fucking songs.
And that's a really good album.
It really is. It's
really
a great album.
Yeah.
I have nothing bad to say about them.
No.
But that was just another huge ingredient in the sea change. And it's that's another interesting thing. I don't know. I just think that like nu metal is the phenomenon of it is so fascinating because it's almost like what killed it was a few bands perfecting it. I was like, well, fuck.
Yeah.
You know, and then like those bands were like, you know, like Linkin Park and Slipknot are like, all right, well, those are just the biggest fucking bands ever. And then there's a big gap between like Slipknot and like Mushroomhead and Il Nino and shit. You know, Cynthia Woods Pavilion, Scout Bar.
Yeah.
Like,
but there were so many bands trying to, I don't want to say cash in on that, but to like ride that wave of. I just can't help but compare it to grunge again, though.
Sure.
Like there were just bands that were, but in this case, bands, they didn't necessarily perfect anything. They were just really fucking good bands. You had Nirvana and Alice in Chains and Pearl Jam doing what they did.
Right.
You didn't so much have imitators of that. It just kind of died off because no one else did that anymore. Whereas this was like bands were trying and they just kind of floundered.
Yeah. Like I love, there's a lot of nu metal records that I legitimately love and I still legitimately love listening to. I'm not embarrassed to listen to. I'm not like, oh, I can't believe it. No. I unironically still love listening to a lot of those records. But then for me, there's a big gap between like that, that like even some of the ones that I really like listening to. That I think are great records. While I think there's something special, God damn it, what am I trying to say? All right, I'm just gonna say the mean thing.
Do it.
There's some of those records where it's like you probably could have grabbed any dude who had been playing bass or guitar for a few years and thrown him in there, and that record would still be fine. You know, things got a lot of, it's
like they ended up being pretty decent records, or even like enjoyable, but there wasn't anything like, there wasn't that spark. There wasn't like something special about them.
Not in a fully rounded way. Like.
Or maybe there was like a one aspect or something.
Right, yeah. Okay, that's a good song. That guy has a cool sounding voice.
Yeah.
You know, I like the way he puts lyrics together. You know, da 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 da.
That's a good point. I feel like that time was like filled with albums like that. I feel like I bought a lot of albums like that.
Yeah. Because it was.
Where I bought them for like a song or two, and I was like, "This is gonna be cool." Oh, it's kind of just whatever.
Right, because a record label was like, "Oh, well, they all have spiky hair. There's no bands that all have spiky hair.
Frosted tips only."
So, hey, you have that drummer you have, he's really good, but could you find someone that has spiky hair?
Does that affect the sound? No.
But it'll be easier to sell, and we're not going to get the record made at all if we can't sell it. So,
spiky hair equals money in the bank.
So I think that's like another, like a lot. Whereas it's, man, like you don't have a Slipknot record if you don't have Joey playing drums and like Mick and Jim on guitar and Corey on vocals and like that shit that's a different thing now all of a sudden, as an example. Or anyway,
well, it's kind of that weird. It's like it's a weird chicken and the egg situation, right? Like you have these bands that, because it's not like these bands set out to make this sound. These bands sounded like this, and it became the sound. Right. So it's not as though they were trying to do nu metal. They just did the thing. and it was new metal.
Right. That exactly. Yeah. Because that's the other thing that's really important about this. None of us called it new metal at the time.
Right.
Like if you were like, I'm sure some journalists, outsiders looking in who didn't listen to that fucking music called it that, but no one who was listening to it called it new metal.
Right. It just happened that Korn came along and Slipknot came along and Rage Against the Machine had been going and all this other shit, and it just influenced a lot of people to do the same thing.
Right. Right.
And they were doing it in a way that was amazing and catching people's imaginations.
So
and
everyone starts doing it, like you're saying. Whereas like the bands, the great grunge bands, were great in the same way that the bands in the 70s, like that we still think of the iconic bands of the 70s being great. Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, just like those guys interact musically and have personalities.
Exactly.
And there's like no one plays bass like Ben Shepherd does, you know, or whatever. And
you just like, you hear the dudes in Soundgarden or watch Pearl Jam play, and it's just like magic.
And it's those guys, you know what I mean? And it's
not because they're playing grunge.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And like, and I think, you know, a band like Pearl Jam is a good example of that, because look at the career that they've had.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
You know, like you know, you're not going to have Edema going and playing for 3 hours, you know?
Probably not. I don't know when they played last, but probably not.
Nothing. I mean, people like they were able to have a career because the singer was Jonathan Davis's cousin.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, that was it. That was the hook.
Oh,
that was the hook on Edema. Probably said that on the sticker on the CD. Like,
I'm pretty sure it said the same thing about Power Man 5000. Rob Zombie's little brother.
Poor Spider.
Poor Spider. They did all right.
Hey, I bought that first Edema record. I'm not being too shitty about it. And like, actually, the second PM5K record I got from Justin. Actually, he left it at my fucking house.
There you
go. Or I stole it.
That checks
or something.
Out.
I don't really know. But yeah, again, like, because of what we're talking about, you know, is that this is a time that record labels still had an incredible amount of power.
Yeah.
This is before MySpace. There's a huge overhead to get a CD pressed yourself and to distribute something yourself, even just locally. To get it recorded yourself. There's still, like, we're not quite to bedroom recording yet. It's still...
this wasn't just, is it going to make us a lot of money and famous? This was like, is this going to get made?
Yes! Right, and I think that might be a thing that is, you know, because it's like, oh, you know, because like about 10 years into the future or whatever from this time period, if you have something that you want to get made, it's gonna, if you just have a way to eat, you know, while you're making it, then it's a lot easier to get it made, and you can then distribute it you can distribute it through digital channels.
Yeah.
That's not an option then, right? Like, and so whenever Machine Head talks about like, well, I guess we'll try writing a radio single.
Right.
That makes sense, which that song ended up being reworked for the Roadrunner United. And it's amazing.
I meant to listen to that again. I saw it come up after last week's, and I was like, I'm gonna save it for next, and I forgot to go back and do it.
It's so good. It has Tim Williams on vocals from Vision of Disorder, and he is an amazing fucking song, man. It's one of my favorite songs ever. Army of the Sun is what it's called.
Yeah, so it was reworked from Pins and Needles.
Right.
Is what they originally and I forget if I was reading the Wikipedia article for the album or some interview or some shit earlier, but I think Dave McClain was like, this is like the worst fucking song Robb has ever written, musically or lyrically. I'm like, whoa, okay.
Yeah, man.
They were not happy about that at all.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah. So leading up to the writing of this album, that's kind of what it was. It was like, they were trying to figure out how to get a record
how to
made,
even get it fucking made, right?
Period. And they were like not feeling what they were having to do to make it happen, which is like writing a radio song like this. And they just got into a room and just argued it out. And Dave McClain was like, we need to fucking be Machine Head, dude. Robb Flynn was like, fuck you, dude, but you're right, let's do it. And they fucking did it.
Right.
And then they made an incredible album.
Like, if we're gonna fail, let's write what we want to write.
Right, exactly.
You know? And that idea of like paring it down to just the three of them, and just the three of them wrote the record.
Yeah.
You know, and
I never realized that until watching this.
Right. Yeah. Like they didn't have that fourth influence. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And I think that that's probably something really special about why it worked and why this sort of became such a turning point, because it was like Machine Head distilled in a sense, you know, where you didn't have someone else, some like that other guitarist trying to pull it in some other different direction of like, you know, and that's the thing. I don't know enough about Logan or Aru to sort of know exactly what they wanted or didn't want, or how much influence they did or didn't have. But it's, I don't know, it's interesting to speculate on, right? Like, I don't know, man. Maybe fucking.
Well, I think they had some influence.
Like maybe they wanted to do a bunch of fucking like.
Because if you read the background of this album's Wikipedia page, the direct quote from Robb Flynn is, "When Aru quit Machine Head to go join Nickelback wannabes Juggernaut, we made the decision to start writing as a three-piece."
Yeah, that's all that
Like,
quote.
holy shit.
I saw that quote.
All right.
And then he ended up in El Nino writing.
Oh,
like,
really?
I love it. I love those first two El Nino records, okay? But I think it's really funny that Aru then ended up in El Nino, and then their third record opens with a fucking like, oh, god damn, like a C Team, like a bench warmer Machine Head riff. I bet the rest of that El Nino record's good.
Maybe.
But I'll tell you that first record, that first riff. Actually, I'm fucking play it for you right now.
Okay.
Because you just instantly you'll get what I'm.
We can make this
saying.
happen.
You'll get what I'm saying. I went back and listened to it like a year ago because I was on a big El Nino trip. And I was like, oh, this record's really good actually.
And this is their third album?
Right. But I didn't at the time that it came out. I was mad. I was mad about it. Because yeah, it came out in 2005. Right. So it's like Machine Head is already back on top, king of the world and all that sort of stuff, right?
Right.
It's got a cool intro. They were good at that stuff.
You can't just do that.
Ding!
You can't just throw that one harmonic in there. That gave the whole thing away.
Yeah,
I didn't know what you were doing before that.
I heard that and I was like, you can't go back to your ex now, buddy.
I'm sorry, baby.
So,
wow, that's funny.
Yeah. But yeah, like so yeah, so that whole time period was really weird, you know, for them, and I just think what I want to know, what I really, really want to know is I want to know what was different about that contract that they gave them at the end, like that they finally signed, because
that they came back to.
They present it in that documentary, like Machine Head, like Robb was just like, please, just sign us, please. I've seen a lot of interviews with that dude. I've heard him tell a lot of fucking stories. That dude has that, you know, that dude likes to get what he wants. And I don't mean that in a negative way. Like he was not going to be one to get that's the thing is Machine Head and Roadrunner split mutually.
Yeah.
At the beginning of 2002.
Yeah.
Like both were unhappy.
Right. That's what they made it seem like.
They didn't get dropped the way that other bands get dropped, where it's like, what the fuck happened? I thought we were cool.
Right.
Like it was mutual. And so,
which is an interesting decision in itself, because like what I've never heard of that happening, I guess.
Oh, dude, that shit happens all the time.
A mutual,
for sure.
Like
for
that?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Because it's, you know, like, you know, maybe because like you want to renegotiate your contract because you've talked, you know, maybe, you know, you've talked to these other bands. You've been in the business now for fucking 7 years, and you see that the way that other bands have set up their money, other bands that maybe you're drawing just as much or more than, and you see that they're getting paid more than you, or they're getting a better percentage of merch, or they're getting this, or da 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 da, or they're getting more points on the back end, or they're this, or blah 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 blah, and you see that you're not getting that, so you want to renegotiate with your record company, and your record company goes, "Fuck you," and then you can't do anything about it. And you're stuck in that position for 6 months, but you do whatever you can in your power to still try to negotiate it. And you like, give us more tour support. We don't want a tour in a van. We want a bus. You know, and you push and you push and you push. And then they get, you know, then you get to a point to where they're tired of dealing with you. You're tired of dealing with them. Your last record didn't make them a fuck ton of money anyway.
Right.
You know,
which was the case here.
Right. Right.
I guess I was explicitly thinking creatively, which isn't obviously the only way you can look at that. But
what do you mean?
That they split on creative difference terms somehow. Like, the record you want to make, we don't want to put that out. Or something to that effect. But obviously that's not the only metric we can go by here. So it doesn't, You're right.
But I really want to know, like, what Robb's demands were.
Sure, yeah.
You know, I really want to know what concession that Monty was able to talk, like, the suits at Roadrunner into giving Machine Head when Monty Connor like plays them the finished version of Through Ashes of Empires. It's like, no, guys, you don't fucking understand. Listen to this.
Because the interesting thing about this situation is, like we said, they seemingly got turned down by every American record label under the sun,
right?
And then had to go, overseas and do what they could. And then it made it sound like there was just like no hope, and that Roadrunner US didn't still necessarily want them back, but they ended up finding some way to do it. So it wasn't like a bunch of different record labels heard this album and said, "We want you here."
Right.
It just somehow became, it's a really weird, interesting situation.
I feel like there's some things missing from the story that we will never know, and I bet a lot of it's really boring.
Almost assuredly.
But I'm still.
It could have just been like someone high up at the company didn't like Robb Flynn, and they may have left or some shit.
He pisses a lot of people off.
Maybe, yeah. Could be.
So, which is one of the things I love about him, which is why I will always mostly be in his corner.
He tends not to do it for shitty reasons.
Exactly.
Is a big part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Yes, exactly.
Pissing someone off on its own isn't a bad thing.
Exactly.
So.
Exactly. I have a massive amount of respect and love for that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so another thing I thought was awesome, if you notice, the vocals, they recorded the vocals on these microphones. SM7Bs,
Nice.
So, they just have like the screen, like they have like, not just this pop filter or whatever, or not this, my brain doesn't work, but they have like the front, like the case taking off, and then they have a pop filter in front of it.
Yeah. Okay.
So I thought I was like, yes. But the other thing in that doc that stuck out to me was the ending when they're talking to Monty Connor. I was like, how prophetic is that he says,
yep.
I think their next record,
if they made this album now, what are they going to do next?
Yeah, it's like, I think the next album's going to be the best of their career. If they made Ashes when they were at an all-time low, what do you think they're going to do now that their confidence
they have confidence back? Exactly.
I also thought it is like, man, that's Monty Connor's a smart man.
Maybe you can't do everything right, but you see something, you can do something right.
Dude, Monty, I always get the impression that Monty was just always doing the best that he could, because he wanted to sign Pantera. It wasn't his fault.
Oh, right. That was him.
Like, he's A&R. He's not the owner.
Sure.
Right. He's like the guy that's working with the artist, and he's kind of like the go-between,
Right.
I also thought that was interesting too, is he mentions that it's like this record, Through the Ashes of Empires, it's like, it just sounds like a metal record. Like, it's not tied to any specific subgenre.
Uh-huh.
He's like, it doesn't sound like a, like a thrash record. It doesn't sound like a metalcore record. And I was like, he didn't say new metal. That's either because we didn't use that word, or it was intentional on his part.
Or he just forgot about it by that
Or
point.
he just forgot about it.
Maybe all of the above, actually.
Yeah. Because I can't imagine like Roadrunner not knowing that new metal is a thing, since they like had cornered the market on it.
Yeah.
But then again, I don't know. Like, maybe that's not how he conceived of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe he didn't think of it that way. Or maybe to him, new metal was already dead. He didn't want to even consider it.
I almost find that more likely because, again, they are Roadrunner, for fuck's sake. But also, if he's listing thrash metal or what else did he say? Metalcore. If he's listing these other things, what is it? If he was going to list the things that Roadrunner had done up to that point, what would he have called it? It's not like it was one of those two.
Right.
So maybe he just fucking forgot about it, or
yeah,
I don't know.
It's just there's something interesting there about just like the etymology, I guess, of the term, and that it's not. That's something I always find so fascinating, is that whenever there is a term used to describe a subculture, that subculture itself does not describe itself as.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, anyway, I can't think of another great example. I guess like I remember whenever people started using the word hipster, and I remember like trying to sort of like tease out like, what do y'all mean when you say this? Because it sounds like you're saying you use it in the same like cadence and rhythm and tonality that I would use the word poser. I was like, but are these people really into these things? And it was like, well, no, they're really into these things.
Right.
And I was like, well, what's the problem?
They're not faking it.
And
they're just assholes about it.
I'm like, oh, well.
Yeah, boy, I can't remember when the first time was roughly I heard the word hipster being used regularly.
Yeah, like, so.
I want to look up real quick, now that you mentioned that.
God damn it.
The Google search, the trend history for the word new metal.
Oh, dude, yeah, that would be interesting to see.
But this is the mobile version of this, and it's absolutely... Oh, wait, hold on. Well, if this tells you anything, you can look at... Here's the time periods you can search by.
2004 to present.
Is the oldest you can go. That's as far back as it goes.
I think that...
And Google was around a bit before that, for sure. And not as widely used as it is, these days, but... I think that's probably pretty telling.
I think so too.
So
and that's the exact period that we're talking about it dying. And so that's like funny that the term becomes codified. People are like, what is this thing that stopped happening?
Interestingly, look at that graph though.
What am I looking at?
So it starts 2004, ends.
Yeah.
Look at that trend line.
Right.
That's
really
strange.
That is a strange trend line. Like, was that peaking like around 2009?
Yeah. But so maybe that's when the term became widely used.
Right. Everyone.
If derogatorily,
Right. That makes sense, because that would have been around the time that like Slipknot put out All Hope Is Gone. So and Disturbed had new stuff putting out. You know what I mean? Like you had Mayhem Fest. So
sure.
These things would have been somewhat in the pop culture.
Yeah.
In a sense, and like at that point, Slipknot's like a legacy band almost. At the time.
Yeah.
Even though they're only like 10 years old.
I think at that point they would have been established. They would have been an established like new metal elder statesman, I guess you can say, in a weird dumb way.
Right.
For whatever that actually means.
Yeah. So that is interesting. Because I never fucking said the word. Like, yeah, man, I fucking love new metal.
Right.
Not while I was in it,
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, oh, I guess that's what you call all of that? Well, I guess I like that.
Right. Oh, but then I saw how it was written with the umlaut and everything. I was like, I don't like that shit anymore.
Nice. I'm not going to do that.
We're done. We're done here.
I just thought that shit was just metal. What the fuck?
Yeah, right. I just thought it was the new metal. That's all I thought.
Yeah. It's like, can you... I just want music that's like more pissed off than stuff my big brother or my dad would listen to. That's all I wanted. Need all this baggage. All right. So
Yeah.
now we'll talk about the actual album.
Through the Ashes of Empires.
All right. So I had like sort of an odd feeling going back over these two records because these are records I never stopped listening to.
Okay.
So I don't like have like the same distance.
Yeah.
At first I thought I wouldn't have much to say, but I always have too much to say.
Bullshit.
Yeah, but it was like, yeah, man. I mean, obviously these records are objectively amazing. There it is. So all right, done. See you guys.
Call it a day.
See you guys next week. So yeah. So how does Through the Ashes of Empires hit you now when you listen back to it, and how does that compare to how it initially hit you, if you remember?
I actually don't explicitly remember because, like I said earlier, like I heard they put Bite the Bullet up on their website before this album came out. Which, knowing all this and thinking about it in terms of how this record got released, I'm actually curious as to when that exactly would have been. Would that have been before it came out in Europe? It probably would have gone up on Roadrunner's American site. I don't know. Or would it have been in 2004 at that point?
I would imagine it was probably just like... It was probably like 3 or 4 months before the American release is probably what it was. Because it snuck way under the... Like, I was like... Because I bought it because I came across a record review that compared it to And Justice for All. And it was like, this record's amazing. I was like, well, okay, man. I'll give it a day in court. And then I went to Best Buy and I bought it in the End of Heartache on the same day.
Yeah.
Which I can tell you. But, you know, let's see. That would have been... Yep. Like April, like May. It would have been like mid-May 2004 because Through the Ashes came out on 4/20 and then End of Heartache came out on May 11th.
Okay.
So like a few weeks later. But
so yeah, I guess it was a little while before I actually got into this album. Around the time it came out, despite having heard Bite the Bullet, I was like, this is a great song. But I just never... I don't know if it was because the last 2 albums didn't grab me as much.
Right, because you've been checked out for 2 albums at this point. I was only checked out for 1.
Kind of.
Because I still loved Burning Red.
Yeah.
And I was like, Supercharger, meh.
And I remember liking... I mean, maybe I'm contradicting what I said last time, but I remember liking the Burning Red well enough. I just didn't love it like I did the first 2 albums. And then I just didn't get into Supercharger at all. So yeah, I'd kind of been checked out for a little while there. But then again, I heard Bite the Bullet and I was like, this is fucking cool. This is kind of like, this sounds like Machine Head I want to hear. But I didn't get into that album for a while. And I mean, it was at some point that you got me into that album. Because I specifically remember you like raving about stuff like, you know, Days Turn Blue to Gray and Descend the Shades of Night. And
this is gonna be really cool to because I know how I feel, but I don't know how long I've felt how I feel.
A pretty long time, I think, because it was you talking up this album so much that eventually made me go like, I gotta go check this album out again. Not again, but yeah.
I do remember this was one that we did listen to a bit on road trips and whatnot. Or I have like at least one specific memory of listening to it.
Yeah.
And I remember Jeremy like saying of Imperium, he's like, the riffs just don't stop.
He's right.
It's like
there's so many of them. So like one of the only other notes, I didn't make too many notes about these at all. I didn't fucking have to. I just put, and so it was that Machine Head began composing metal. As they would go on to do many more times after this. This dude, like Imperium is, you cannot, it's unassailable as like an opening statement.
Yep.
Like an 8-minute opening statement.
Yep.
It's so good. It's one of the best single metal tracks in my opinion.
Yep. Yeah, I was like, in so many ways, this is a perfect metal song.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just does everything right.
Yep. Like, and when the thrash part hits, you just know that the rest of their career is different. Like,
yeah,
because
like this is what we're gonna do now.
right, whenever, because they've never gone full thrash. They've done like that, but it's been more of like a hardcore. You know, like a hardcore kind of way, not like full on like intricate.
There was a very different feel to this album.
And so, but whenever that first, because up to that point you're like, this is an amazing like groove metal fucking song, but when it gets to that fucking thrash riff and that tom hits, because you still don't know that they're gonna thrash it out, but when the drums come in, man, and it's like, oh my, it's like, all right, and thus everything changed.
And thus spoke Flynn, I guess.
Yeah, and thus spoke McClain.
Yeah, there you go. I really was surprised. I guess I never knew that oh my fucking god, the other guitar player,
Phil Demmel.
Phil Demmel. I kept wanting to say Dave something else other than McClain. Anyway, I was surprised to learn that Phil Demmel did not write a lot of this album. Because this album feels so much like what they're going to do next in so many different ways. Well,
God damn it, you know, it makes sense when you know the full history, which is that Phil and Robb were in Violence together.
Sure.
And like they're cut from the same fucking cloth.
And what that band kind of was and what they would become
right
from here on.
And that Robb was like a lead guitar, you know what I mean? He was like a guitar player. Yeah. He wasn't because he wasn't
a singer who played guitar.
Yes, he was a fucking guitar, and you know what I mean. And like it's just he ends up. I think he's like he's got to be one of the most underrated guitarists in metal.
Yeah, I mean it's as much like him and whoever else he's got with him at the time throughout Machine Head's career. It's as much like Hetfield and Hammett,
right,
as any other band.
Because he's just such a charismatic frontman and such a strong personality. You associate so much of that with the vocals, right, and that delivery.
Like the sort of attitude of their songs comes from him so much.
Right, you tend to think of him as, you know, like 70% that and like 30% like guitar player.
Yeah,
right. Like he's just fucking Garth Brooks out there, like playing some cowboy chords to support it, you know, or some shit like that. And it's like, nah, man, he's doing all that. Like,
right.
All of it. He can do all of it.
Yeah. He's playing the killer riffs. He does many of the solos. He's
all the harmonies
all over the place.
Right.
Absolutely killer guitarist.
So I do remember this record took a little bit for it to grow on me. Like I think I heard Imperium and I was like, oh, that's obviously amazing. But the rest of it took a little bit. and then for a while I just kind of had my favorites. You know, this was like one of those records for a long time for me. For a long time it was like, this isn't one of my favorite records, but it has some of my favorite fucking, like it has like 5 of my favorite songs ever written. You know, like Imperium, Days Turn Blue to Gray, Seasons Wither, Wipe the Tears, and Descend. You know, I was like, well, these are clearly, you know, for me personally, these are like the best songs ever written. Like these are like the songs I wish I could write, right? And those songs were just on such a high pedestal for me that like I think it's not that the rest of it isn't good. It's just that those were meant so much to me that it was overshadowed a little bit.
And they somehow just didn't hit those highs, because I kind of feel that way. Like I'm to the point, and have been for a while, where I just like know all these songs, and so they're all just there's those songs on this album that I like a lot. But I know like I just don't. Some of them just never hit me like some of the other ones did.
Right.
Whereas I can go through the Blackening and everything's killer front to back, and Locust probably as well. But
right.
There are peaks and valleys more so on this album for me than those other ones.
For me, going back and listening to this one, like it's like this this might be close to a perfect metal record for me. Because it's so personal.
It is. If it's anything, it's extremely personal.
And that means a lot to me. That goes a long way for me.
Sure.
So
somehow I'm not surprised.
Womp womp womp. And so yeah. Overall, this is close to a perfect metal album for me. It has the thrash metal tradition, that sort of like new metal. I don't know what you want to call it, like sincerity, or whatever.
Right.
Vulnerability.
Yeah, there you go. Both of those things I think are valid.
But it still has sort of there's dynamics to it.
Yes. There are highs and lows and loud and quiet and intricate and fucking whatever. But
what's interesting is that this album still tracks as it still feels like, oh, this is the best nu metal record ever made. It still feels like a nu metal record.
I think especially in comparison to what they do after this,
yes.
It absolutely does.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's more mature, it's more sophisticated, it's more intricate.
Yes.
Than your standard nu metal record, but the arc of it, especially if you take it okay, it's like a nu metal record that has
that they put a lot of thought into.
That has
That's what I'm saying.
Bookends of legit, amazing, epic, timeless metal songs.
Sure.
Because Imperium, that's not really a nu metal song, and neither is Descend the Shades of Night, I would say. But the songs in between, I don't know, just the flow of it, right? I don't know. It's hard.
No, I think that's a great point. Actually, it has a sort of how to say, not like a grungy feel, and not in terms of grunge music, but it has sort of a swampy feel in the middle, like a sort of a funky, vague.
Yeah, it's more Korn than it is Metallica. I don't know how to say it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not just in the lyrics; it's also in the production.
Yeah, and the tone and all this stuff. There's
a certain urgency to it that you don't hear in a lot of metal records, because metal is very stoic, and it's like, I will calculatingly bludgeon you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But that's what made this so attractive to me, is they do both of those things.
Yeah. Yeah.
All over the place extremely well.
Well, and they get away with it because there's such an amazing band and there's such amazing musicians, and
but they do so well. They have we've heard 4 albums of them having amazing feel. And and all these amazing riffs and shit. So that's done. That's no problem. But then to bust out the sincerity and the intricate madness that's going on, all sort of at the same time throughout the album,
right? Because you have the grooves and whatnot that you have on the first 2 records, and you have the intensity that you have on the first 2 records.
Yeah,
you have the melody that you have on the Burning Red.
Yep.
But then you have that ace in the hole, the shit they've been keeping from us,
right?
Which is all this fucking epic thrash shit.
We're 5 albums in. I guess we can bust this shit out.
I guess we'll solo now.
Yeah.
But it still has this edge to it. It still has that, and maybe it has to do with how they wrote the record, how they recorded the record. There's an urgency. There's just a fucking spit.
There's a fucking urgency because Robb didn't have vocals when they went in to record it. So yes.
Well, even in just the music, there's I don't know, man. There's a spit and venom, piss and vinegar, kind of just.
There's a fight to it.
Yeah. Yeah. And. Yeah, and there's a raw, there's a rawness in the production that I love. It's organic, but still really tight. And it's tight because they're a tight fucking band.
Right, exactly. Their fundamentals are you couldn't get more solid.
Yeah, and that's the thing about both these records, especially this one. You couldn't make a record that sounded like this. If you try, if you're okay, what's the blueprint to make a record like this? Well, first you have to be Robb Flynn, you have to be Dave McClain, you have to be Adam Duce, and you have to be those guys in 2003.
Right.
because they can't even make this record now. You know what I mean? Like it's because yeah, and
yeah, that's a great point. Like you have to be people who made like some of the most solid metal albums to date,
right,
and then come in and you want to do something different,
right,
and your backs are against the wall.
right.
All these things have to line up.
Yep.
Yeah.
And even just like the tone, like the bass tone on this record. Oh my God. The way the bass sounds on this record is like really unique for metal. And it like, cause it cuts and it has presence and all that sort of stuff, man. And it's like a nice, like round, punchy, warm sound from the bass. That can really like carry a whole section. It's not just this like distorted slab that is just kind of like filling up the low. That's just enhancing the low end. Like it's, I don't, yeah, man. So go ahead.
To I guess just throw in a bit of a dig is like one of the things that hit me again, because something I didn't say yet is like these days more often than not, whenever I want to listen to Machine Head, it's almost always the Burn My Eyes or Unto the Locust. Those, for whatever reason, became the two albums that that's what I'm going to listen to right now.
Yeah.
For as many times as I've listened to The Blackening, it's actually been a while since I've listened to it. And this album to a slightly lesser extent. But one of the things that hit me coming back to this album was like some of these lyrics making me cringe a little bit.
So
but you know what? I kind of understand maybe why now.
let's dig into that. I'm gonna come back to like the drumming and a whole bunch of other shit. Okay. So let's dig into the lyrics. First, I'm gonna talk about the vocals in general.
And specifically the vocals and lyrics, two very different things here.
Yes. Yeah.
Vocals, amazing throughout.
Yes. And so to me, the genius of this record, like songwriting of this record, is the way that they use the clean melodic vocals, because they're not done the way Slipknot does it, where it's like, here's your big melodic chorus that everyone sings along to.
Yeah.
They're always as pre-choruses, transitions, or bridges. That's where almost all of the melodic vocals on this record are.
Interesting. I don't know that I caught on to that, but yeah, okay.
That's how it is.
Okay,
That's how it is. Like it, and so they don't ever hit you as this is the most important thing, right? But they hit you as like this relief, this reprieve, this variety, the dynamics, and all those types of things, you know.
Right.
So and it also because of doing it that way, it changes it really allows for the lyrics themselves, when they're vulnerable, to be really highlighted and to convey emotions that I feel are very, very unique to be conveyed within the metal genre. So
Sure.
For example, like Days Turn Blue to Gray, right? That's a great one. Like you would never hear like Megadeth, Metallica, Slayer, whatever, Exodus, Testament. No band that speaks the thrash metal vocabulary have an exposed, harmonized vocal like, why won't you love me?
Sure.
What did I do? Excuse me? What did I do? You know, like Jesus Christ, right? You know, please help me see, what did I do? No fucking other... No other band that has like the chops and the presence, or no other band that has the thrash metal pedigree
exactly
would have the balls to do that.
Like what it basically sounded like they did on this album was like take an album that could have been made 10 years prior, 15 years prior, and just did it here with, like you're saying, like new metal sensibilities to it.
Yeah.
Like you said, vulnerable sort of.
Right. And the thing too is like, whatever new metal is, okay, I think it's safe to say that Robb Flynn expresses it authentically, because he himself is part of that second generation of barrier, and he himself probably got tired of the trappings
Sure.
of traditional thrash metal, you know? And like it's really almost like groove metal is almost like this. It's almost more of an anomaly than nu metal because it's just because Pantera was so prolific and so amazing that you have that as a bridge. It's a thing, it's almost like a thing that metal people did while they were waiting for nu metal to develop. It's almost like Pantera's like parallel, you know what I mean? But whereas I think you can draw like a through line from thrash metal to Burn My Eyes to like Slipknot and shit like that, like that those things connect to me. I don't know that Pantera's almost like just happening on its own.
Yeah. I mean, sure, there's something to it, but yeah, I see what you're saying.
I guess like what I'm trying to say is I'm trying to give Robb credit in that like I don't think that Robb heard Pantera. I guess like I think that Robb was sort of like I think he was already on that trajectory. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I mean, I'm certain that he heard Vulgar Display Power and was like, all right, fuck this. This isn't going anywhere. But I don't know, man.
Are you saying like in terms of like the first couple albums?
What I'm saying is
or up to this point?
What I'm saying is that I think that if you take the riffs off of Burn My Eyes and you don't have Chris Contos playing drums on them, you have nu metal riffs.
It's probably some in there. Yeah. Probably so.
So like,
I mean, much closer to that than anything else that was going on around them. Yeah.
So what you're saying about like, it's like they took an album that could have been made 10 years prior and then made it with like nu metal sensibilities. Is like, I still think Robb was just doing what he wanted to do, but he is still a part of that thing that was naturally happening that we now retroactively call nu metal.
Sure. I guess what I was trying to say was like, they made a Machine Head album, but they like bolted on, is kind of derogatory, but they bolted on like thrash metal, but just did it in the way that they kind of been doing it. Because the Burning Red was still that in terms of the sensibilities that they brought into like the lyrical content, and things like that. That was still there.
Mm-hmm.
They had been, like you said, they had been doing that, but then they just made something more akin to a thrash metal album.
Sure. Or it's like they just like, it's like something gave them permission.
Yeah.
To like, oh, well, we can do that too. We want to do that. We can do that too.
Right. We actually feel like doing that. Actually, we can do that now because we have the personnel now to do that very confidently.
Or even it's just like, I don't know, man. Like the thing that I was saying before is that like what makes something sound dated is if people stop doing it, and people stop doing thrash beats, and people stop doing that kind of double bass. So maybe they're like, well, we don't want to make some old sounded shit.
Sure.
But also the other thing you have happen in 2003 is you have Saint Anger. Like, okay. So like,
oh man, it's going to take a while to even process how that fits into all this.
Well, I like, regardless of how we feel about that record, what the average person fucking said about that record was like, Metallica's heavy again. So what I'm saying is this like,
I guess they did, huh?
It was like, oh, things are heavy again. Like it was, and I think like for whatever, like, I'm not saying that this is like one domino falls and then da-da-da-da. I think this is just where everyone was headed, naturally. And so, all right. So back to the lyrics.
Yeah.
Okay. Overall, there's something extremely positive and hopeful about these lyrics. If I had to sort of sum it up, it's like this pain has a purpose, or maybe this pain doesn't have to be for nothing. That's sort of the message of the entire record.
Sure. Yeah.
Because all the pain and everything that he talks about, he always laces in some measure of hope or things about love. The lyric love shows up all throughout this fucking record. Like it's in fucking Imperium, carved upon my stone, I will go on, patience, belief, love will ascend.
Right.
Those are, Jesus, it's too hopeful.
Calm down, Robb.
So that's what this is it. This is the line. Rageful positivity in the face of trauma and hopelessness.
He just spells it out right there.
That's it.
He just tweeted it out right there.
And so I love that Robb is actually saying things, right? Almost all of these songs they're about something. You know, some of them are a little free floaty, but even the ones that are free, you're like, okay, this is still something specific here. And like what they're on, it's on this album, they're specific about things that are personal. On the next album, they're specific about things that are political, which I am also very inspired by and love and think is awesome. Like I love Pantera and Slipknot, but a lot of that shit is just abstract, aggro word salad. You know, like Corey Taylor, I love him, but he will go to great lengths to make sure he's not saying anything.
Yeah, gotcha.
Like every other lyric is it's like, this is this is not, and I'm not this, I'm the anti this, and this is not. Like he's just, I mean, it's wordplay, I get it, you know what I mean? But it's also like, you're not saying anything.
Yeah.
And I mean, and that's part of like the Slipknot shtick, you know? Like, but I really appreciate, because it's really, really difficult in metal to write lyrics that are, one, actually about something, two, are poetic, three, they're aggressive or dark enough to fit into the genre, and four, like, don't sound stupid when you sing them.
Right.
So let's talk about Presence of My Enemies. Some of the lines in this verses are what keep this record from being probably one of my favorite records of all. Like this. Oh my God!
I've been reading through the album's lyrics again to try to remind myself what it was that really sparked that.
It's this one.
That's why I keep coming back to. It's got to be this.
It's terrible. The verses are terrible, and the rest of the song is amazing. But the verses on this are like, I was like, these boring ass metal Yoda quarter note lyrics ruin the entire song and slow the whole damn record down for me. Seriously, it takes me out of the flow of the record so hard that I think this might be my favorite metal record of all fucking time if you took these verses out.
Death, I will fight you too.
Yeah. And it's like, it's because he does some metal Yoda shit on the Blackening too, but it's less exposed lyrically.
Okay.
And it's more rhythmically interesting. But this is like nothing's going on. Like the guitars aren't even playing. It's just like bass and drums, you know.
Right.
Like, and I'm not a violent man. Again, I wish to repeat.
I want to break I want your nose to break.
I want your nose to break. Like, and see, but that's what's so fucking irritating. Is like I feel totally validated in going off on this because this is literally the only criticism I have for these entire two records.
I agree.
This is the only negativity.
I fully agree. Yes.
Let's see. Let me pull them up here because what the fuck? Because it is startling. Yeah, because there are cool things, you know. Where's it at? Oh man, but for every human that takes away a child's innocence, whether by molest or by all wars, pointlessness. Yeah, killer of life, corrupter of all that is pure. Here it is. I want your nose to break. That's terrible. Because like you start fake wars and you fuck kids. Like.
But also, it's like not even like I want to break your nose. I just want
it to break. Yeah. But then like shattered under clenched fist. That's cool. Sure. Smashed face to concrete. All right. Yeah. Taste asphalt's gentle kiss. Yeah. Cool.
I'm down with that.
That's great. That's great. But this, and so, but man, and that's the thing is like, it stands out because the rest of it is just so.
Like. It's still, as goofy as some of this shit is, it's still at least being genuine.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And the rest of the record is so fucking that.
Right.
That it's in line with that.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. I don't hate it for that. It's just, you can't not hear that and be like, come on.
I will say, what made me kind of like calm down on it a little bit was when I watched the live DVD again. And it didn't bother me when I heard it live. It didn't stand out. For whatever reason, it didn't. Okay. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. That's the thing he says there. Whatever.
Yeah, people were getting into it and screaming it back, I'm sure. So.
And the rest of the song is so fucking cool.
Yeah.
And so that's that.
But again, just to reiterate what we sort of alluded to earlier was that there were apparently not many lyrics written when they went in to record this album.
I didn't get the impression. I didn't know if he was talking about the whole record or just that song.
Oh, I have to go back and look again. The impression that I got was like a lot of the songs.
The impression I got was it was just the one they were showing the clip for, which was Days Turn Blue to Gray, I think. But
okay, it could be. It could be. Yeah.
So, but yeah, but the rest of the song, like the end of it, on your grave, I will stand. It's fucking amazing.
You know, I'm sure I read the lyrics at some point over the years, but I really thought that at some point he varied that to "I will shit," like on the like 7th time or something. But no,
there was a few.
I think what it is he like pronounces it differently. He like goes off on a different vowel at some point.
Yeah,
I will stand or something like that.
There's a few. I think there's like some in like seasons of with. I was like, that's what you're saying. So yeah, yeah. So the lyrics in that song are really the only criticism I have for either of these records.
Yeah.
Yeah, Empyrean's amazing. Bite the Bullet. I wrote, "Unleash the McClain." I mean, and so all right, let's talk about Dave fucking McClain for a minute.
Let's do that. Yeah.
So on this record, and I think arguably for like the decade that follows, this motherfucker is absolutely on like fucking fire,
untouchable, top of his game. Like, where have you been, dude?
Yeah,
like you've been good, but like you ain't been this good.
But god, dude, because literally no one is this good.
Man.
I was so check this shit out. I was digging through some old interviews. Found an old interview of his from like 2007, right? So I already knew this, but I wanted to like confirm it. So when he's doing like the fast shit in Imperium, he's totally using heel toe doubles. That no one was doing then, by the way. Like
inventing that shit whole cloth.
Yeah, more or less. Like a technique that now everyone fucking does to do like crazy fast double bass. Like he was doing in fucking 2000, 2004. And I was always confused as shit watching like the Elegies DVD because it would show that section and his legs were going like
Right.
And I was like, what the
are you cheating?
Well, I was like, that can't be the right clip. And I was like, no, that's the right clip.
Oh, sure.
You know? How's that? You know? And then I found like a few years ago, I found that internet that interview snippet. But yeah, and so also these records aren't done to a click track.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but
man.
There's some real specific examples on the Blackening where you can really, really tell. And I'll point those out.
Okay.
But that's another reason that they feel as amazing as they do.
Sure.
Because they sound like those guys playing.
Because they have some organic feel to them. Yeah.
And it's a testament to how fucking amazing Dave McClain is that they feel as good as they do. And as consistent as they do. All the things. And
I mean, they said when they were I think it was this one, but it may have been the Blackening. But they were like, yeah, McClain went in like a day and a half and just knocked all the shit out. Just flawless takes.
That shit, like my brain doesn't even hear that. Like whenever because I've known that. And like, I watched it and like, it's like that shit that they made up in that What the Bleep movie about like, oh, well, Indians didn't know what ships were, so they couldn't see ships. Like let's not go there.
I don't know what that is.
But that's how I like feel whatever they're like, yeah, he did 7 songs on the first day and then 4 songs on the next.
Sure, okay.
And whatever. I'm like, didn't hear that. That's the whole thing.
It's fun. Like I've never watched much of their like behind the scenes footage, I guess, of those guys, Machine Head, just kind of hanging out, talking, whatever. And Dave McClain comes off as just such a like, yeah, man, we're just like, I don't know, whatever, it's fucking cool. We're doing some good stuff. It's cool.
He's an awkward
dude.
Totally
like chill and like kind of not broy, but like almost like a surfer sort of vibe in a weird way.
He's real laid back.
Yeah.
And he's kind of awkward too.
Sure. Oh yeah, I can get that.
Like I met him once, briefly
Uh-huh.
at like a Sacred Reich show after he had left Machine Head. They were playing down in Scout Bar, and
So this is pretty recent.
a few years.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like up front like the whole time because I get to like there's Dave McClain.
I remember you telling me that. Okay.
And I get to hear what he sounds like through open air, right?
Right.
Which is totally different, man. If you
In
ever
the wild.
well, if you ever have a chance to hear what a drummer sounds like without mics, and you know, you can just like there's so much information that's lost. Like there's no way to get around it. Like you have the best video and the best microphones and everything like that. But if you can hear how they sound in person, not through the PA, you get this sense of their internal dynamics, right? Like how does the volume of the tom relate to the volume of the snare, relate to the volume of, you know what I mean? And each drummer's it's like a thumbprint, you know what I mean? And
Gotcha.
And but yeah, like so he was like hanging out and like talking to people, and I was like, dude, you're one of the most underrated drummers in metal. And he was like, no, there's people who are better than me.
Like, well, yeah, I know that, but I'm just trying to say, no, you don't understand.
Yeah, and it was like, God damn it, dude. I'm trying to like, and it was like, okay, there's no way I can convey to you how highly I think of you as a craftsman and an artist. It just feels like I'm just some rando Machine Head fan that's just like, you're the best, because this is my favorite band, so you're the best. But nice guy.
That's good.
Nice guy.
Yeah, I'm sure.
You know, so
The only other note that I had about this album actually was they mentioned a number of times how the only song that Phil Dimmel and Robb Flynn wrote together as guitarists and Phil with the band was Seasons Wither.
right.
And that was not recorded on not released on the initial European release, but they slotted it in on the US release, on subsequent releases of the album. That was the only song that they wrote with Phil for this album. And they keep making it a point to say, so this is the one we wrote, and we keep, this is going to be indicative of where we go from here. And I'm like, fucking what?
Well, that's what they thought at the time.
Not even close.
I kind of get it. I mean,
it sounds different than the majority of it sounds the most different to me from the rest of this album. So like I get that. But that's it. This is not any sort of evolutionary hint or anything to me.
But there's nothing that could ever prepare one
for
the Blackening.
Yeah. Nothing can prepare you for the Blackening.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
Let me see.
But I just thought it was funny how they kept harping on that point.
Yeah.
I was like, you just don't even know. You can't tell the future.
So, did you ever see the like Imperium Misheard Lyrics video?
Maybe, but I don't.
So it's hard. I have to work to like not hear those. This shit was like in 2005
I know
or
what you
some shit
mean,
like
though.
that, and it was like rare meat now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Fuck your grandson's ass. Just like I still think about every fucking time I hear this song.
Still thinking about fucking that grandson's ass.
It's like, yeah, I guess Robb does say prejudice kind of weird. It's a hard word to scream.
Sure, yeah. And he really like stretches those vowels in some weird ways sometimes. Yeah.
Matthew Lawrence Cordray.
It really rolls it around in the mouth there.
Yeah.
Behind all the teeth and under the tongue.
That's an amazing moment on the record. I fucking love that moment. I was like, shit.
Yep. Like, you must have had to go lay down after that and then come back to the next take or something.
Yeah, well, it's one of those. It's like, dude, if you just read that shit like written down, you'd be like, fuck, I'm not supposed to read that. like you feel like you stumbled onto a motherfucker's diary. Like, okay, you try to sort some shit out. That wasn't for me. I'm sorry. I read it. I won't say anything. You don't have to say anything. Yeah.
Hey man, no harm, no foul.
So in Bite the Bullet, like, I don't know, man. I'm just gonna start spitballing random shit. The groove is nasty, bass tone's incredible. The twin guitar work, you start to hear like this rub, right? Like, if you're listening on headphones and stuff, you can hear that these things aren't like perfectly synced up,
Right. There's a really explicit point in I think it's like the outro riff. They do like the initial riff again, and there's a part in there where you hear things kind of get a little wavy. And I've always loved that about it.
Right. I feel like you hear it on the beginning of Seasons Wither too.
Okay.
There's like about I don't know, like the third, like the halfway through, like maybe the second cycle of the like it feels like it gets a little drifty and then it locks back in, you know. And I fucking love that shit.
So, yeah, like for as precise, that's the thing is like, you hear some of the other shit, like the melodic dual leads in like Imperium or whatever the fuck else, all of this album, like you know that they can do it. It's not a question of like having to get everything right every time. It's just like what felt good here. And this is
right, and like trusting, like okay, well that was the drum take that we got when we were tracking together, and we decided that was the keeper drum take. So we're gonna trust that felt good. We're gonna trust our former selves from a few days ago that said that was the one, and we're gonna fucking go with it.
Right.
You know, we're not gonna chop this up and like massage it over. We're gonna let it be. You know.
And I guess having said that, and what we're gonna talk about next is like, did they have any of those moments and then they get rid of them, or were they just that goddamn perfect? Like,
you did right, yeah, right.
Where'd that go? Where'd that weird shit go? Because it ain't on the album.
Yeah. Left unfinished, pure new metal lyrics, and I'm here for it.
Sure. Yep.
Love this tempo and the super skank feel. That's what I call that, like, you know, I call that the super skank beat.
Yeah.
Mid-tempo super skank. And then it was no one uses toms and like mid-tempo double bass the way Dave McClain does. Like no one is as good at that as he is. Like just you know, there's some really cool examples I'll point out in the Blackening. We already talked about Presence. This is probably where the Unjust for All comes from, because Elegy is like an environmental song. Amazing song, groovy as fuck. Days Turn Blue to Gray. We talked about that one a little bit. Dude, there's so much air in the fucking mix, like in the drum tracks, like that, like the cross stick, like it sounds so fucking real. Like it's like, yeah, man, that's what fucking cross stick sounds like when you're sitting in the room with it, you know. And there's another song where he's like playing on like the rims or some shit. It might be in the middle of this one. Yeah. And it just sounds so fucking it just sounds real. And it just sounds so organic, and you just don't hear that on fucking metal records. Like you wouldn't hear that on a fucking Lamb of God record. And Lamb of God became like the gold standard,
right?
Like later this year, after this was released.
Exactly.
Like later, oh god damn it, we all have to try to sound. Everything has to sound as good as Ashes of the Wake. Everything has to be that tight and that perfect and that inhuman, you know. And this record is amazingly human. The production and the execution of everything on it. And love every fucking second.
Yeah.
And yeah, no one in metal grooves the way that McClain does. No one has his feel. No one has his swing. No one's able to play behind the beat. No one except for Vinny. Like it is a category of two. It's them.
Nice.
It. And yeah, so
I'll buy that.
Vim. I was like, another McClain fucking all the butts intro. Yeah, man, it's just, this is kind of funny. So at 244 on Vim, I was like, this is maybe the first Testament two-step of their career. That thing, I called it like the Testament two-step because there's like a famous Testament song where they use it. Like basically Lamb of God modeled their entire career off of this one Testament song.
I can see that.
Not their entire career, but you know.
What kind of a thing did they do a whole lot?
Yeah. I can't remember which one it is. Is it? It's not that one. I mix up those old school Testament songs. All right, whatever. Not gonna fuck around with that. I'll try one more.
Point taken.
No. Anyway, whatever. Sorry. It was in Seasons Wither. That's when he's rocking on the rims and shit. So the bridge and the solo work, the cymbal and the drum work that he's doing in here, to me, foreshadows the absolute masterclass that we're gonna get on this stuff in Aesthetics of Hate.
Okay.
Like he's hinting at it. He's letting, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah, man. I'm okay. I'm not gonna keep doing that. I'm just gonna say that "Wipe the Tears" is another one of these amazing songs for me that I like leaned on a lot. You know, a certified door ripper, I called it. Like, you know, because when that kicks in, it just makes me want to tear doors. All right, and Descend the Shades of Night. So what else did I call? What else did I? I'm gonna back up a second. So what did I call it? I made some joke about the Weepy Bridges. Yeah. Machine Head and the Weepy Bridges, because Days Turn Blue to Gray, Seasons Wither, and Descend the Shades of Night. Like whenever I'm like just listening to them, like I get all emotional. Fucks me up.
They do it well. That's what they're going for.
The verses of Vim are in 5/8, which I thought was interesting. All right, so Descend the Shades of Night. Okay. So there was a period in fall 2007 where I was like legit losing my mind. This was a few months before I went to the mental hospital. I was suicidal. I was all these types of things. And like no bullshit, this song helped keep me alive. Like, I know I talked about the song Burning Red.
Yeah.
Like that's like a go-to sad song. Like, okay, I'm just trying to hang on here. Like this was the one. This was like, you know, because Burning Red isn't really hopeful. It's more of like just a lament. But this song is still powerful and still hopeful and whatnot. And just countless nights, countless hours driving around by myself. This song cranked, singing, screaming along, just trying to survive one more night, you know. I know it's dark, I know it's fucked up and uncomfortable, but goddamn it, it is what it is. Yeah. And I don't know why, but things were always easier for me to deal with in the morning. So it was just get through the night, you know, and like whatever it took. And a lot of times what it took was driving around in my car and screaming this song until I couldn't scream anymore.
Right.
So yeah, this is these lyrics, like the bridge of this song is everything that is great about metal to me. You know, like lyrically, like it's like that's the mission. It's like because that's what draws me to metal. It's this cathartic. It's like I'm not alone. That's why I got into this shit. Is because when I heard this music for the first time, this style of music, I didn't feel alone. And I've been chasing that feeling my entire fucking life. When I was at the Suffocation concert a few weeks ago, and I'm screaming and riffing and air guitaring with all these fucking crazy motherfuckers, I felt like I wasn't alone.
Yeah.
You know? And that's a feeling that I'll keep chasing, you know? And so, but this is one of the only songs that really sums it up, I guess, vocally in such a way.
Yeah, like I totally see what you mean by the bridge there.
And I actually had a chance to tell Robb this in a way, and like, you know, because I got to meet them, you know, briefly at the Mayhem Fest. And,
I remember that.
I didn't like give him a whole spiel. It was just like
we walked through, like shaked hands and
right.
Said,
like,
hey man, I fucking love your shit.
Right, and I, you know, and I don't know what I said, but I said it briefly, and he took the time to like, you know, like look me in the eye, hear what I had to say, and it was real cool. Because anyway, here's the poster, but he was like he took it on, you know what I mean? Like he tried, or he wanted me to feel as though he did, like he really, you know. And then he's like it. I felt seen and heard, you know what I mean? And I don't know. So, but yeah, I have like thank you, Robb, and anyway,
fucking awesome.
Got this cool ass fucking signed Machine Head poster.
Hell yeah.
You know what I mean? Not like a ordered a signed or it came with a record. Like, no, man. Like,
got it signed
yeah,
from them.
Yeah, like they signed it. I got to like shake their hands and talk to them. And
totally.
Shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, is so yeah, that song. If there was nothing on this record but that song, it would still probably like, well, you know that I would still, whether it was or not, I would still say it was one of my favorite records. So,
yeah, like you said, bookended with absolute fucking classics.
Right, like how you fuck with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
100%.
And also, if you look at that Elegies concert, the 3 vocal thing that's going on, like in the bridge and especially like the last chorus of this song, that is absolutely. I don't know if it was an influence on like the way that we started to approach vocals with All Severed. I don't know. I don't know if it was like a one-to-one
conscious influence.
Yeah, I don't know if it was a one-to-one like, oh, I see that and I love that. I want to do that. Right. But I do know that once we stumbled into it, it was because of this that I knew it was right.
I see what you're saying.
That makes sense, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's what the true function of a lot of influences sometimes is. It's not so much to, oh, well, I see that. That's amazing. I want to do that. It's
more like validation at that point.
Right. To what you naturally stumble into that you are able to do well. Right. And if you're able to do this thing well and you've heard a thing that kind of does that too, it kind of gives you permission and confidence to keep pulling on that thread.
Yeah.
Right?
Because maybe you have an idea and you don't really know how to execute on it, and then you see someone absolutely nail it. You're like, oh, shit, that's what I'm going for.
Right. I riffed on this idea with referencing one of like the Small Deal songs, like the Bing Bong, where like there were some people who heard it that we had showed the song to that were like, oh, the feel's fucked up and it's too slow and it's this and it's that and da 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 da. And it was one of the only times that I like vetoed. And I was like, no, fuck y'all. Y'all just have never listened to D'Angelo. This is fine. Let it be. Just trust me on this one. And
get y'all a little brown sugar.
All right. So now we're 3 hours in.
All right. Well,
do you want what do you want to do?
I mean, I don't know that I necessarily have a lot to say here, I guess is the thing.
Okay.
To me, this is pretty straightforward.
We can get it done.
Okay.
All right.
This is one of the best metal albums ever created.
Exactly.
I don't know what else to say. Like, this is, from the time I first heard this album to today, like, it was, I could not believe, like, I remember 2 notes about this. One, I cannot believe how good this album is.
Yeah.
The other one is, I remember when I first heard it, it made me feel like I was hearing a new band again for the first time, like rediscovering metal in a way. It was everything that I never realized I wanted. It was done. It was just immaculately done. And like I said earlier, like this isn't even the album that I come back to a lot, but it's in my mind. It's still like the perfect metal album to me.
It almost just is one of those albums that just like lives rent free now. Like
pretty much.
Like I don't, because I similarly, like I don't. Well, I don't know. That's not necessarily true because I definitely have listened to several songs like Clenching, Aesthetics, and Halo have been in like my constant rotation, you know. But the album as a whole, I haven't listened to very often, or you know, recently, right? Recently,
yeah.
I'm more likely to put on The More Things Change, or Through the Ashes. Honestly,
that's so interesting. It's like the exact inverse of what
it's
I
like
do.
N-1 of you, you know, in a way.
Exactly. Well, we got it all covered in that case, I guess.
Right. And So, but yeah, like my first note is like, yep, this is clearly some of the best metal ever made. Love it just as much as I ever did, and I don't know what else to say about it.
Yeah.
And then I wrote like 1,000 words.
I don't know what else to say. So here's some of that.
Well, I said that, and then I like listened to it 3 times, and you know, and
yeah.
So
the thing that strikes me about this album the most is that it at the same time feels like they took everything that they did on Through the Ashes and sort of like honed it and perfected it, and also added things to it. They did everything they could possibly do, but they also condensed and they edited as much as they possibly could. It's so incredibly concise.
It's very refined. There's
extremely refined.
Every note feels just because there's still sort of okay. Remember what you said about Supercharger, where like some of the lyrics and stuff sound like, yeah, Robb just tried some shit, and that's why they just left it there.
Yes.
Woo woo, you know, like that kind of shit.
Oh.
And there's still a little bit of that left on Through the Ashes, I think.
I would agree. It feels a bit more raw and unrefined in that way.
Right.
Yeah. Like maybe if they had done another pass, some of that stuff might have gotten cleaned up a little bit.
Right, but it still feels very rehearsed still. Like Through the Ashes is like still feels very like in like those songs are intentionally those songs.
Yeah.
And those lyrics and the like all of it is meant to be written that way, but the takes still have like this energy to them, whereas every push and pull on the Blackening feels like, oh, that's exactly how they wanted it.
Yes,
that they rehearsed it that way. It's supposed to speed up there and slow down there and have all of that going on. Every single note is exactly what it was meant to be.
Totally.
And the fact that this record is done without a click track, just Robb doing a scratch track along with Dave.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah,
you know,
like they proved that out on those videos. Like, here's what they do. Here's what the song's gonna sound like. Now Dave's gonna do the drums, and now we're gonna make the rest of the song. Fucking wild.
Fucking banana sandwiches.
Oh man. Yeah, I just can't get over how just absolutely perfect this album sounds.
Yeah, it really is.
But not only like is musically, but just like sounds.
Yes,
everything about it is so incredibly well done.
Right. I had so many blurbs here, and it like one's like, this is like classic Metallica with the brutal beatdown groove update.
Yeah, kind of like this album to me feels more like And Justice for All in a way.
Sure.
Like it's relatively short, very long songs that a lot going on in them, but it has that immediacy, that urgency, that energy that And Justice for All does not have.
Exactly. Yeah. This is I was riffing on that idea where, you know, like Through the Ashes has like you know, like the groove, it has like the Pantera groove thing going on in broad strokes. It has like the intensity of Slipknot, but also like there's like the Korn thing going on with how vulnerable it is. Right, lyrically, right? If those are the bands in broad strokes we attribute those things to, right?
Yes.
Not that Pantera isn't intense, and not that blah 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 whatever.
Shorthand.
But Blackening is less of the vulnerability, but it still feels very sincere, right?
Yeah.
It's not. There's not as much I me, you know, but he's still talking about things that are very important. But it's less of the like, why won't you love me? What did I do? You know?
Exactly.
And so it's much more, it has much more of like the progressive thrash elements like you get from like Master Puppets and Injustice for All, you know? And so it is in that sense, like, and that's a thing that's really, because like, I love Slipknot. Okay. I truly love them, but they don't write like Slipknot songs are mostly pop songs. They're just, you know, those kind of pop songs, but they're, riff, verse, chorus, hook. There's no sprawling 9-minute Slipknot songs that aren't fucking art rock.
Yeah. Okay.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, or like a song like Sick. Like that doesn't have like a verse chorus structure, but it's more like a hardcore song. Like it's just like a hook after a hook after a hook. It's not this epic progressive thing. Mm-hmm. Right? And this, I'm not saying like which is better, whatever.
You're not saying it has to be. It's just not that.
It's just not that. And so for Machine Head to write something that has that epicness, that grandness to it, but that still has that intensity. Holy fuck, guys.
Right.
Holy fuck.
Like I said about Through the Ashes, like that's where they started composing metal songs. Like this is full fucking on.
Right.
These are metal compositions. These are thrash metal compositions.
Right.
And extremely intentional, and every little bit of it is thought out and considered and refined. Is just keep coming back to that because it is just.
I think I've always thought this is the best album. This is like if someone's like, "Hey, what's metal?" and like, "What's it about?" I'm like, "This is the best album. This is the hands down the best album to show them to." Like if they're like, "I don't know what metal is, but I'm willing to give it an hour." It's this.
Yeah.
It's this without question, because to me, it's like the best things about metal. Some of the best things. Most of the best things about metal rolled into a single coherent masterpiece. You have aggressive vocals, truth to power lyrics, sprawling non-traditional arrangements that are still catchy and work and are masterfully constructed. You have twin guitar leads, you have all those harmonies, you have solos, you have like these powerful, intricate, but like soulful drums, it's so much feel, but it's so like in your face and so interesting. So you have like the Neil Peart tradition, but you also just have like this groove and this beat down to it.
Yeah. Like I should have mentioned on Through the Ashes, but it holds true for that album and the two that follow it, is like something so very different from any of their other stuff before that. Was just there's constantly interesting shit happening.
Yeah.
Musically.
Yes.
The changes. There's so many changes. There's always something to catch you. And it's not always a hook. It's just we did something different and it was still good and interesting.
Right. There's a little like, oh, well, they've been on this and then the bass goes up an octave, or there's like an extra guitar lead, or something like that.
Yeah.
Like there's always
it's fucking constant. like what Jeremy said about the riffs just never stop. Like the changes just never stop.
Right, and the layers and everything.
They're able to keep it interesting the whole time.
Right. And
so I think that would probably go a long way, because I think part of what probably keeps people to some extent out of metal, and what annoys me from time to time, is just repetition.
Sure.
And they do a great job of like staving that off.
Right.
For all of these albums.
Right. Yeah. Beautiful melodies. It's sincere.
Yeah.
And again, like, so, the songs are about something.
Yeah. I mean, literally the first lyric in Clenching is war. I never realized until right now.
Really clear, letting you know.
Yeah.
I love all the anti-war lyrics. It's interesting. This was put out in 2007.
Yeah.
So, this is all in the Iraq War fallout.
Yeah, exactly.
They're overall more detached and less personal than Empire's. They feel very much in line with the lyrics of Master of Puppets and Justice for All. Not super personal, hella sincere. And I do think the lyrics are crafted better.
Yeah.
On this.
I think they took. Yeah, I don't know if they took more time on it, but they definitely did a better job with.
Yeah, because it's really fucking hard.
All the things you listed earlier that metal lyrics can do or be or not be, that's a lot to deal with.
It's really hard to do that and be really sincere, because if you were, I mean, we've dealt with that where I like really tried to put my heart on my sleeve, and I'm trying to write something that feels really sincere, and then either you or Jeremy has to go like, well, this sounds real stupid.
If you could make that sound like less dumb,
right? Like,
that'd be
okay,
great.
well, I know that you mean that and everything, but
yeah, I know you're not making this up, but it just kind of sounds goofy.
And that's just a really
fucking hard to do. I can't do it at all. I never have been able to.
If I would have also played guitar in the band, there's no way I would not have told y'all to fuck off. Like, there's just no fucking way. So it's just, but
like, that's the thing. Like, that makes it all the more amazing that the lyrics are unassailable in a way.
Yeah.
Like, and maybe that comes down partially to them not being so very personal. Maybe he's able to.
You can detach a little.
Yeah, and
right.
maybe that helps in that way, because the things that can be more personal maybe can be a bit more emotionally driven and less intellectually driven in that way.
It can be a little harder to like, okay, well, let me just look at these words at a distance.
Yeah.
And think about the songcraft here.
So maybe you're able to do that a bit more in this case.
Yeah.
I could see that.
And I love who he it's all punching up, right? Like it's governments for taking us to war. It's racist bigots. It's elitists. It's Christian shitheads,
murderers.
Yeah. It's all, there's, and it's actual, like, like you don't walk away from these lyrics like thinking like, well, I don't think Machine Head wanted to upset any veterans.
Yeah. They kind of took both sides on that one, really.
Well, I don't think that Robb, I mean, I love Jesus, but, I'm sure, it's like, it's very fucking clear. Like, the Christian conspiracy. Like, he spells the shit out.
Right.
Yeah. And then I was kind of joking, and I was like, what about the production? The best.
Oh, duh. Ooh.
Yeah, songwriting, the best. So here's like a question for you.
Yes.
Do you think that this is the wall of thrash metal as Robb Flynn so described it in the making of documentary? Because
he did say that, didn't
I have no like experience. I don't have enough experience with the wall.
I've never heard that shit. Turns out.
Well, I don't have a relationship with it, so I'm like not qualified. It's like, if he means the best one ever made, then yeah.
Like, no, I don't think so. I don't really know what he meant by that, I guess.
Gotcha. He probably just means it's like there's a lot.
It just means
on.
like if he means it's like their magnum opus, then sure, because I kind of think it is.
Mm-hmm.
Although I think I would say that this is not categorically. I think that this is objectively Machine Head's best album.
Yeah.
I don't think that The Wall is objectively Pink Floyd's best album. I think it's probably Dark Side of the Moon. Maybe Wish You Were Here.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe he sees it in some other way.
Right. It's hard to know what he meant.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. But
I don't think this has much in common with The Wall.
So do you, in the sense that like The Wall's like amazing when it's amazing, but maybe it's a little bloated? Is that what you mean? Or is all of The Wall amazing?
I think that's.
Could you have? Okay, go ahead.
It's all amazing, but it's composed of all sorts of different things. I guess I just don't know in what terms he meant that in, because this is an album full of long ass amazing songs front to back.
Right.
Whereas The Wall is like interspersed with all sorts of weird little ideas that in sum total come out to something that is amazing.
I see.
Right.
Could there be a The Wall of thrash metal?
Of thrash metal? Probably, sure. Is there one? Maybe. I don't. Maybe I haven't heard it.
I think it's Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness.
Of thrash metal?
It's a double album.
Of thrash metal. Sure, you know what? Why not?
It's thrash metal deconstructed.
Zero had some riffs in it.
Yeah.
There you go. Done.
There's something deconstructed in that was one of the lyrics and oh man, one of these songs. It's all a blur to me right now.
I'll have to go back and think about that question though.
So yeah, this is one of the few records that I don't have any fucking criticism of.
Yeah, I don't either.
I have a lot of amazing, cool things I can say and point out. But that gave me another question. Like, what is it? That's an interesting thing. Like, not like, what are your favorite records?
Right.
Like, what are the records that you know?
that are like unassailable.
Yeah, that you know, like you know them front to back. Like you know every note. And you have no criticisms of them. Because I have lots of like my favorite records that are super important to me.
Right.
They're some of my favorite moments ever. But I have criticisms for them. You know what I mean? There's things I'm like, well, that didn't work. But
and that's weird because like immediately I go back to Pink Floyd where I'm like, my initial answer would be like, "Wish You Were Here."
Mm-hmm.
But there are things on that album that I have a tolerance for that other people do not.
Sure.
Like sitting through 12 minutes of Shining You Crazy Diamond parts 1 through 5. And just going through the highs and lows and the nothings of parts of that song.
Right.
Where I'm like, I'm cool taking that journey.
I see.
I'm not going to criticize that.
But other people
absolutely will and have. Right. So that's a more difficult one where I feel like this has to be more universally like, yes, this. So
yeah.
it's hard to say.
Right. That's the thing. Like I almost want to hear, just as out of a curiosity of like, what could a complaint be about this album? Right. And
the songs are too long, but they're interesting all the way through. So I don't know.
Other than like people like this too much, and I have to balance out the universe, so I have to find something stupid,
which is totally a thing people will say,
especially in metal.
Sure.
But yeah, like
this is an album that. I feel like I probably felt this way when I first heard it, the first time all the way through. But I can't believe this was never made before. Like, you know what I mean? I can't believe this album didn't exist before they made this album. It's such a weird thing to think, but it feels to me like such a quintessential metal album.
Yeah.
How did this not get done before?
It's like, oh well, that's what it is, right? It's like, oh, that's what metal is. What is metal? It's this.
Pretty much. Yeah.
I wrote something real silly. Let me see if I can find it.
It's gonna suck this album's dick, man. Like I don't care, honestly. It's too good.
It is something random. Maybe I don't find it, but it was like something ridiculous. Of like, it's like someone made. I don't know. It's like the perfect classic Metallica album from the future.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's like, yeah. So I'm going to start riffing on some track-by-track shit.
Okay.
It's going to be kind of random. So on Clenching, I love how it starts off kind of Imperium-ish. Like you think it's going to kind of be like a mid-tempo kind of, because it's you know what I mean? And like, you think it's like, okay, you're all going to do that thing. And then it's like, and it goes somewhere completely different. And then like that song just goes so many places and they're all fucking amazing. It doesn't make sense.
Yep.
But that's kind of true of the whole fucking record.
That initial like swell into the intro.
Yeah. Got it. Oh, it's oh my God. It's like the best album opener, like the best show opener, I mean Imperium's a pretty great show opener too, but
like we just got into talking about, but like, man, this is so, it feels like they just took Imperium and just tried to do that again and again and again and again.
But they did it but well, to me,
not throughout the whole album, because there are other things like Halo is completely different from
Of course.
that, and all sorts of other
It
stuff.
feels very different. Like Clenching feels very different than Imperium because the main groove, the main theme is very different. Yeah, there's like, okay, here's some solos and some thrash parts in the middle. Here's a breakdown at the end. But like, you know, Clenching has like that like super skank around 130, you know, or whatever. And Imperium is like that like 110, kind of thing. So it's a totally different groove.
It is.
But like the arc of it is and then that's that thing that you almost like get like hints that they took like song like on Through the Ashes of Empires, and they're like, what if we take that arc and we just go boom, and then we stretch it out and we inject it full of steroids and mutate it and let it live on the sun, like
That's really what I mean by what they did with Imperium, but just did it again. Is like it's like they composed it. There's an arc to it. There's a journey to it. There are rises and falls. There's a journey.
Right. Do you have a metronome app on your phone? No.
It's a good question. Probably not.
So I do, but so can you pull up Beautiful Morning?
Yes.
Because the particular metronome app I have I can't play a song while using it. This particular one. All right, so
where to?
No, just right at the beginning is fine. Okay. So we're starting off. It's like 145. Oh, bounce up to 150 a little bit. Okay. 155, 57. Slow down a little.
Back down to 150. Oh shit.
Down to like, you did
40s again.
And that's then awesome. Up again. Down a little. It's
wow, that's great.
You never noticed, did you?
I never noticed, but it feels like it should be doing that.
Exactly.
So yeah, there you go.
Isn't that fucking wild?
Oh, that's cool as hell.
There's another one on here where it's very like pronounced and whatnot. So we'll get to it when we get to it. I don't remember what it is. Yeah, but so there's some Yoda lyrics in this one, and it doesn't bug me.
Yeah. None of the lyrics seem egregiously weird to me on this one.
Right. Beautiful pushes and pulls. The ear candy on this record. Yeah. Masterful arrangement. The way they go back into the bridge as if it's the final chorus. So yeah. Because you have the bridge of this song, which is the this lifetime, whatever. Yeah. That functions almost as a chorus. And then they put it on the end of the song, and then it kind of like falls apart dynamically and like fades out. Right. And so like the bridge, they come back to the bridge, and it functions as like an emotional climax and like as a resolution for the song. That is really difficult to make that fucking work. Yeah. And like all the little connective pieces that they have on this record of like, well, how do we actually, this is where we want to get, how do we get to there? All the little, man, it is masterful.
Yeah. Yeah. And to hear them tell it on the little making of thing, like that's exactly what they were going for.
Right.
Like they knew that they wanted to do this with this album.
Also the solo description on this one was great. It's like Demel, Flynn, Flynn, and Demel.
I just couldn't decide, so they just went in at the end.
All right. The next one's Aesthetics of Hate.
Yes, like speaking of the lyrics being more detached and less personal, that's interesting because this one kind of is both.
Yeah.
In a way.
It
like
really
it's extremely
is.
personal because it's about Dimebag, but also it's like from an outsider's perspective. And
well, you know what this song's really about, right?
Oh, maybe not. Because I always thought it was about Dimebag. It
is, but it's specifically about this dickbag, hot take, elitist journalist who wrote this shitbag, hateful, stupid article about like Dimebag Darrell, something, good riddance. And it was
I must have known this at some point.
The basic premise of the article, like he called it Aesthetics of Hate, and it's just, man, it was 2004 clickbait is really what it was. But he just said some terrible things and basically like, yeah, this is what this guy deserved.
Right.
Let's see. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I'm not gonna dig into this, but it's just gross. And I remember reading this. I remember when this article came out because it was not too long after Dimebag had died that this became sort of known to the metal community. And I'm fucking like 20 or whatever, and I like find this dude's email address, and I sent him a fucking tirade,
Damn.
like a fucking 1,500 word, like well thought out fucking essay about like, listen, motherfucker, Dimebag was an incredibly special musician, and he could have done any musical genre that he chose to do. This is what he chose to do. It's okay if you don't get it, because he is like talks about, it's stupid. I'm not gonna waste my time. But
I'm gonna go find it and read that because I don't think I've ever actually read that.
So
I'll do that. Yeah.
But so this song lyrically is not just a like, God damn it, Dimebag fucking died.
Right.
It's specifically a response to that article.
Okay.
Which was written for like the magazine called Iconoclast. That's why like the bridge is like, Iconoclast, I hope you or whatever.
Oh wow, okay.
And shit like that. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I always just took it to be more aimed at the murderer than the fact that Dimebag died. So that's okay.
Nope. It's not aimed at. It's not about the murderer. It's about someone disparaging Dimebag's name posthumously.
Right. Right.
And which again, how fucking hard. How it's. This might be the best fucking Machine Head song. I might go out there and say it. Just because it's like, what do I need? Like, if I have in the shortest amount of time, let me demonstrate to you that Machine Head is one of the best metal bands to ever fucking exist. And it's this song because that lyrically that it fucking works.
Yeah. This is kind of in their wheelhouse already in terms of like lyrical styling.
What do you mean?
Like it's aggressive. It's sort of confrontational. It is, but it's also like well thought out.
Right.
It's kind of all of the things that they typically do in some ways,
but it's
style-wise.
But it's factual. It's about someone you know and love that exists, that is an absolute pillar of the metal community, and for you to do like a very obvious tribute to them, not like just this is a song about like our fallen brothers, just like song about people dying, and you dedicate it to him,
right?
Which is what a lot of people do. Like a lot, all right, fine, whatever. You're sad, someone died, and then like Robb's like, no. I have this very specific song about this, that the verses are puns, like have puns based on like Pantera album names, and it fucking works.
Right.
It's this should be lame. It should be cringy. You know what I mean? And it's not. And that I think is like why,
yeah,
they're one of the best like the best metal songwriters to ever fucking exist.
I mean, yeah, the words I read on the screen left me fucking sick. I guess I always took that to mean like learning about his death.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, just those words, the lyrics, the words I read on the screen left me fucking sick. I felt the hatred rise, you son of a bitch. That could easily go goofy feeling, but it works.
Yeah.
It absolutely does.
Right. And I think one of the reasons that it works is because the music, like there's so much fucking muscle. Like,
yeah,
you could probably read Goodnight Moon over this fucking song, and it would probably like, man, it's fucking preach, So yeah, like every note of this song is perfect. I don't understand how it can even be this good. You know, I think I heard like Robb describe it as like a thrash, like, you know, or something like that. Like when he was like, whenever I had the first riffs and the idea for the song, he's like, I called Dave and I was like, I've written a thrasher piece.
Hell yeah.
But I agree, man. Like this song literally has everything. It has all of it. I don't know how it does it all so fucking well.
The lead in to the verses, the little bends that they go back and forth to it.
Oh, yes!
It's so cool.
Yeah, dude. So like
man.
the bridge, right? So like the only thing that's better than the drumming in the bridge are the leads that are on top of it. Did you ever?
Because I've always heard the drumming too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So good.
When
it busts into that,
gang, taka. Yeah, dude, yes. It's all so perfect and so good. How is it so good? Doesn't make sense. And yeah.
Yep.
It's so good. So there's like whenever the like long live. What?
Memory.
Hello?
Is it going? It is still going.
Okay.
Did it just cut off? And
I don't know what that was about.
Can you see a picture on there?
I do. Well, we'll address that in a little bit.
All right. Either it erased everything and it's still going, or
yeah, that's strange. I don't know.
All right. Well then.
It was checking on us. You guys okay?
Yeah.
But yeah, like so yeah, like the long live memory, the like guitar thing that is going on in the background there.
Yeah.
That's like a like counter melody thing. It gets me every fucking time.
Hell yeah.
So okay, yeah, so the bridge in Now I Lay Thee Down is some of the coolest metal guitar playing ever. That's another one that like Breeze, like tap that one out and it's like all over the place again. But again, it's pretty much just all of my notes are like, how is this song so damn good?
Yes.
Slanderous is another really, really ambitious, like how, like again, like tip of the hat for you guys to try, even attempt writing a song about that. About like, you know, and I'm not sure that he doesn't have a hard R in there, but you know,
in which part?
Oh, wet back.
Oh, yeah. Right.
When you know, but yeah, so but basically like the idea is of a song is like all the slurs, I accept it, and you know, and it's just it's trying to sort of be like reflective about just the nature of hate itself and bigotry itself and whatnot. You know, I love you, I hate you, or do I hate myself? You know, shit like that. Yeah. And it's just, this is in 2007 too. Like, thank you, Robb. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And so it's a hard line to walk, and I think it does as good as it possibly can. Because how do you even fucking write? No one else. I don't know a single fucking anybody in metal that's ever even attempted to try and write an anti-bigotry song.
Yeah, there's not much I can think of. It's much easier to play into it, if anything.
Right. Right.
So,
or to just throw out centrist word salad.
Yeah, or to just ignore it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All right. So my favorite thing about Halo is that they had such a hard, it's a story about them having such a hard time recording it that when they finished, they were like, thank God that we never have to play that song again.
About that.
So yeah, so like for the first like they didn't play it on like the first like 6 months of touring for the Blackening.
Fuck.
And then now they like close.
I assume that they just got so much better during that tour that they were able to just, you know, do it.
Well, I think it was. I don't think it was an execution issue. I think it was an arrangement issue. I think they just had a hard fucking time like trying to figure out how to make the song work.
Okay.
You know, and so they were just like sick of it, and like like yeah, I don't even know if that works, but we're done.
Right. I see.
And I think they got to that point, and then it was like, hey, do you know everyone's favorite song on here is Halo? Fuck.
Oh man.
But yeah, this is again maybe the best fucking another one of the best fucking songs ever made.
Add it to the list.
Put it on the pile,
Yeah. Throw it in the bag.
Dude, there's a run where like fucking Dave McClain is doing like that fucking double bass almost a minute straight with like just one measure break in there, one or two, and like that is a shit fucking tempo to do double bass at that speed for that fucking long while doing all the intricate shit on top that he's doing. It is no slouch.
Oof.
Yeah. Anyway, I love that it's about fucking bullshit Christians. And then, honestly, I don't know. Do you have anything else thrown in there about?
No.
Okay.
No, that pretty much covers it.
I also love, and the feel on that song on Halo is very unique.
Yeah.
Because there's a rub to it that's real weird, and it's like behind the beat. And that's the thing about all these things. Like when they groove, like in that, like no one grooves quite the way Machine Head does in like that pocket. You know what I'm saying?
That sort of mid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's deceptively, like it feels deceptively simple. And so there's one more little drum nerd thing I wanted to mention. So during like that breakdown before the outro, like after it comes out of the big long solo section, there's there's one of these cymbal chokes that Dave McClain does. It says that's around like 6:15 or so. And this is a thing that I've seen him do very consistently, but I don't think I've ever seen anyone do it as like stylistically as he does it.
Okay.
Because most of the time when people hit a cymbal choke, they treat it just like a staccato note.
Right.
Right? It's treated like a stab. You know what I mean? Like if your articulation, like, so they treat it like a 30, like every cymbal choke is like a staccato 16th note.
Right.
Right. And he doesn't do that.
Is this the one where they come out of the end with the lead?
Mm-hmm.
Is it that?
Part of it.
Okay.
That's part of it. So it's I'll show you.
Okay.
You'll know what it is when you hear it. But what I'm getting at is that he treats the cymbal chokes and he gives them length, like they're like a trumpet player or a horn player playing an eighth note. Da, da, da. Like not just da. Not like a drummer who just like, oh well, I just hit the drum.
It's less percussive and it's more melodic.
Right, because he gives it length.
Right.
So here it comes.
Ah. Okay. I see. Okay. Cool.
And that's a thing that he does all the time live. He's very consistent, and sometimes because he's he has like this crazy fucking wingspan because his proportions are real weird.
Okay.
And so he'll do that shit like real cool where he'll like do it with his arm, like he'll go like and he'll or like he doesn't.
There's a big karate chop across the whole thing.
Well, it's been a while since he did it, but it's like he doesn't. Anyway, he has. That's like. He is just such an understudied drummer, and he just doesn't. There's not nearly enough drum cams of just Dave McClain just fucking playing and doing his thing. It just doesn't exist, and it just bothers me because goddamn is he special.
Here.
So, but yeah. So because those, tell me if you agree with this. So because of those first 6 songs being so fucking massive, I typically did not give the last two because I'm exhausted. Like I've been all metaled out, you know? So I often didn't give Wolves and Farewell to Arms as much attention. I never thought they were like bad.
Right.
My criticism of Wolves was like, oh, well, this sounds like y'all just took all the leftover riffs you had and just made them all work somehow.
I could kind of see that. Yeah, I could kind of see that. I think part of that is because it's sort of a mid-tempo, but just like straight ahead feel to it. It feels like the sort of thing that could be anywhere else on the album. And because it's at the end, you like you said, you're kind of out of steam at this point because you just went through all that, and now you're here.
Right.
I always listen to the whole album pretty much. I think if there is a dip on this album, I think it's probably Wolves.
Right.
But I like it a lot still. So it's hard to say.
I was really, when I went back and listened to it, I was like, you know what? This is fucking amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because.
And then a Farewell, I can't fuck with that.
Right. Yeah. So
fucking good.
But like Wolves is like, it's just, I went and saw Testament several years ago. And they played for a long time. They played like an hour and a half. And they just made you fucking eat it. Okay.
I can appreciate that though.
Like every Testament song does the same thing.
As each other.
Yeah. Like they're like, I mean, there's like a few that are like, well, we're gonna do a slow thing before we do that thing, but we're
gonna do that thing.
Yeah. They all get the same fucking thing done. And they just, it's like, let's just go play 30 of them. And so like, I left that concert feeling like so, like I was so satisfied. And I felt a little abused. And that's kind of how the song Wolves is. Like, it's not really dynamic. They just make you fucking eat it for 9 minutes. And the riffs and the brutality and the intensity just keep coming. Like it starts and it just keeps, you know, and it's amazing. It's amazing. It does all the things amazing, you know? So
yeah, it's still great.
There's some real slick tempo changes on how they like get back to a part and shit like that. That's like real sneaky.
Yeah.
And just so like you can feel like Robb and Dave like fucking okay, you know.
Trying to make this work.
So it's amazing. And
like if I had to say that there was a straight ahead song on this album, that's the one.
Right. Well, but it's not really straight ahead. It's just not
as
yes, it's just
extra as the rest of the fucking album is.
It's just not as dynamic.
Right, exactly.
It's still intricate. It's still all the things.
Totally.
And honestly, I think I don't know. I think the album really, really would lose something if you took it off.
I think it probably would, yeah. Like to your point about like the Testament set or whatever, that is a problem that I have always had with any metal show, really. Like I just have poor stamina in terms of that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like I just get drained way quicker than most people do, I think. So at the end of an hour-long set, I'm maybe not as bad, but anything over that, I'm just like, I love this, but I'm fucking done.
Right.
And that happens with albums too sometimes. Depending. Some albums, if they are able to do things the right way, they can keep me.
Right.
But I just have poor, like I said, stamina in that way. So, I feel like at the end, maybe not some of those earlier Machine Heads shows, like where they played like 5 songs and that was it. But some of the times we saw them and they played for like a long time. But any metal band, really, I'm just like 3/4 of the way through, I'm just like, whew, I'm fucking feeling it, and I just can't muster the energy to care at that point. But I'm still like, I love this. So
right.
That's kind of how I feel with that.
I gotcha. Yeah, like when Testament played. Now they did break it up because each member did a solo. Like it was a fucking Van Halen concert.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Which was cool. It was like, oh, there's a fucking bass solo.
They all do it in sequence or like throughout the
the concert.
Oh, that's cool.
You know what I mean? So like after the 5th song, then Eric Peterson does one, and then like in between the 10th and the, you know what I mean? And then you get a bass solo, you get a drum solo, and it was all sort of, it was awesome. It was the perfect way to like break things up, you know?
Yeah.
And so, and Farewell to Arms. We'll talk about Live Machine Head and shit like that. We'll do that next time. Fuck that.
Yeah.
So Farewell to Arms, when that chorus hits at 3:35, might be one of the best musical moments ever recorded.
Yeah.
Like, that's like one of the best things ever been captured to fucking tape, as far as I'm concerned. Like I don't.
Yeah.
It's so good that the lead up of the entire record to that moment is worth it. So,
yeah. I also love when he gets to A Farewell to Arms the first time, because it's gone for so long at that point.
Yeah,
and you don't really know. It doesn't really feel like a point where it's going to just like, because it's a bit of a crescendo, but it also is just the one line,
right?
And then they go into more. You know, really, really well done.
That's a special fucking song. It really, really is. But yeah, just pure, amazing, epic fucking metal.
Yep. What was the song? Which song did they get like the fans in there to fucking record?
Clenching.
It was Clenching. Right, at the end. Yeah.
Die.
Fight.
Oh, fight. I mixed that with Creeping Death, but so
yeah.
I have this.
Nice.
Which is so this is not, they recently did a repressing, and that's not what this is.
This is the original.
When
did this come out? I guess
2007. So.
Oh, this came out at the same time. Okay.
I don't know when this is, but you'll notice something about this layout that might look familiar. I basically lifted this design for the All Severed vinyl.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, this is
sweet.
This is one of my coveted metal possessions, because it's not anyway. I bought it used. It cost a bit of money when I bought it. I'm not some like it was cost like $70. You know what I mean? I'm not that, because some you can't, like, some people collect vinyl and they're way out. That's not me.
Sure.
That's not me. But
no, dude. Like honestly, like the styling of this album like makes it worth it to me. Like this album is like. All aspects of this album, from top to bottom, are extremely well considered, and the artwork of this album is like actually really fucking cool.
Right. I have to wonder too if there was like just a certain amount of like, with the success they had, that the record company was just like, whatever you want.
Yeah.
How much time do y'all need? Okay, you got it.
Right. Yeah. I'm sure that there was.
You know.
I'm sure that there was.
Like, because they toured so much for Through the Ashes, and then were able to tour, right?
Right. Yeah. Right.
You know, there's like a 3-year gap. Like there's a 2-year gap, even with all that drama and all that craziness. There's only a 2-year gap between Supercharger and Ashes.
Yeah.
There's a 3-year. Well, depending on how you count, but
right.
a 3-year gap in the between the American releases of Blackening and Through the Ashes.
Yeah.
You know, so. That's like a whole other year touring, which means that's a whole other year of them making money for the label.
Right.
You know, so it's like they probably had a bit of a longer leash,
exactly,
so to speak.
Gave them a little bit more leeway on that one.
You know, so.
But like to hear Robb tell it in the making of this, like he had the idea for this there. He knew exactly what he wanted to do with this. Like the theming, the art,
right,
the meaning behind it. All that shit. He was just like,
right.
Yep, here's what I wanted. But I think it's like none of their other albums are styled like this before or since. But it's so perfectly what this album needed.
It really is.
It's so wild.
I remember being really turned off by the artwork of Locust when I saw it, and I was like, ugh.
Yeah. It's not great. It's probably my least favorite thing about that album, actually. But we'll get to that.
Yeah, I guess this is the last bit of good artwork for a while. I don't know, the artwork on the new one looks solid enough.
Okay,
so. Okay, I think that's it.
Yeah, I think I've said all I needed to say.
Yeah.
I'll just go listen to these albums some more, I guess.
That's the other thing too. Is it's like I don't know if I've ever forgotten to one where I was like, all right, cool. I've been listening to this, write all my shit so we can talk about it. But I think I'm gonna listen. I think it's what I'm gonna listen to tomorrow too.
Yeah, pretty much. Listen to this on the way home, I suppose.
Like yeah. Like a lot of times, I get to the end of one of these. I'm like, all right, well,
yeah.
listen to that next year.
Put Pantera down for months.
Yeah,
or whatever.
Whatever.
Yeah, I'm
on shuffle, like a Damage Plan song would come up after one of these. I was like, ugh.
I can't. Not right now.
You know, and I was like, don't even act like that belongs with the metallic majesty.
Get out of my playlist. But no, this one, like, I'm ready to dive back in immediately.
Yeah. All right.
Adios.